Hello, and welcome to the bottom of the internet. It is Saturday, September 25th, 2021, and this is Another Dead Pixel, the podcast about all things pixelated and otherwise. Here to lead you down the dark path you have chosen for your life, it is I, your host, Nick. With me here today, the inventor of the Korean backdash, and the last of the Morlocks. It's Joe. Joe, how you doing today?
Doing all right. The backdash took me a long time to perfect. Castlevania stole it, though. Those assholes.
I'd always suspected that, but I never played Castlevania, so I couldn't prove it.
I was young at the time. I mean, I shouldn't have been doing it in public, but that was before the internet was the internet thing. So, some asshole on a video camera, VHS,
Yeah, I mean you're like Backpack Kid. He's the guy that I think he invented flossing. The flossing
Ah,
dance, and I think he sued Fortnite for that. I don't know I think they paid him to go away, but
probably. I mean, I'd rather be Backpack Kid than, Star Wars Kid, because that shit got no money.
oh yeah, what happened with that?
Nothing. He became
Like
YouTube famous when
like
there
what's
was
Star
no,
Wars Kid?
monetization.
Wait, so like what's Star Wars Kid?
Oh shit, you really don't know. Okay.
Maybe I know and I just
So
don't know I know.
Star Wars Kid was it was I don't know if he was middle school, or maybe high school, but a kid doing, some kids filming each other and doing their own, uh, green screen-ish effects and trying to make a broomstick into lightsaber light effects and sounds. And so it's just this, bigger, stereotypical nerdy kid, doing some swinging around and, with a pole. But he's really going for it. Like, he's really trying to go for it. And when you don't add the Star Wars sound effects, and the lightsaber noises and the colors, it looks really ridiculous. And that went viral, back when, you had to share fucking, GIFs, and, you had to actually, it took you a while to actually look at a clip on the internet.
Yeah,
So yeah, that's you literally emailed each other that
Star Wars
as
Kid,
a
huh?
yeah, you're like, hey, check out this thing, and I'm gonna email it to you. Uh,
Wow,
yeah,
I have to look that
that
up.
that kid was super popular, man. It was really ridiculous,
Yeah,
but it was it.
I pretty much didn't have the internet until I went to college, so I did see some stuff and I heard about some stuff, but it was very limited until I went to college.
Yeah, that's like E-Bomb's World, or like, Albino Black Sheep or stuff like that. During the era of, peanut butter jelly time.
oh yeah,
Uh,
yeah, peanut
yeah,
butter jelly time. Jeez,
same time
man,
frame. Maybe, peanut butter jelly time came a little bit later, I think, but stuff like that. Chocolate Rain, I think, was
Chocolate
another.
Rain. I remember that. That was like big. That guy was on like the Tonight Show and stuff.
Yeah,
Uh,
so that's essentially, that's all around the same era. The internet was a wild and silly thing back then.
I mean, it's
Now,
still the Wild West, but back then it was just like, what have we done? What can we do? It was crazy.
yeah, it was what could we do, and now it's more like, look at what we've corrupted. That's kind of what it is now.
Yeah, really. Um, so I've been holding the story for like 2 weeks. So I was doing mandatory sexual harassment training at my new job. I didn't do anything to deserve this. This is something that that they just make all new hires do. Um, but I was so it's like 2 hours, I guess, of 4 hours. It was a long time of watching videos and answering questions. And they have a guy come on and talk to you, about like this and that. And he reads off stuff. And I was like, this guy sounds so familiar. What is it about this guy that just sounds so familiar? And I was like, I think that he's Pod 42 in the game Nier Automata. Did you ever play that?
I only played a few hours.
So
Uh,
like so 2B, the main girl,
yes.
her robot that hangs over her shoulder and talks to her, that is Pod 42.
Okay.
And so I was like, I gotta see who this is. And luckily they were showing like this guy, he was lending his voice to this sexual harassment training, but he was also the presenter, so you could see his face and stuff like that. So I looked him up, and lo and behold, same dude. And I was just like, holy shit, this is so fucked up. Nier Automata is never gonna be the same for me again, but it was
What?
very
So you're gonna watch
surreal.
Nier Automata and think of sexual harassment? Hmm.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, those two things would never otherwise, come together. The only thing is, in Nier Automata, they robot up his voice, so they make him set like they give like this reverb to his voice, so he sounds like a robot. Whereas in real life, he sounds the same, but just without the reverb, and not quite so stilted. I guess, but that's the
Okay.
acting. But anyway, I just was like, well, it's a small world. Video
Dude, you
games
gotta
and
make a
sexual
living
harassment.
somehow, right?
Yeah, yeah.
At least he's not an actor doing like, herpes medication or something like that.
Yeah, he probably is. Yeah, I looked it I looked it up, and he's done a lot. He's done a lot of animes and stuff like that too. I was like, oh, okay, and I was like, okay, of course he's probably done a ton of stuff. If he's in a game as big as Nier, he's probably in just about everything. He's been acting for a long time, like since the 2000s. But
So you're saying you work for Blizzard, though, is what I got from that, right?
no, no, I can neither confirm nor deny. I work for Blizzard. Man, there's some stuff about that too that I didn't include in the
O-
news. That like
Okay, big. That was it was a prime segue, but I'm
was
jumping the gun too
that was
early, so I'm
beautiful
sorry, but it was just
segue.
wide open there.
I should have saved that story. We can recut this. That's what we're gonna do. We're gonna recut this, and we're gonna put that whole story right after games, right before news. Um, it's gonna be seamless. Trust me. So, but like we may as well get started, I guess. Like, unless you have any other stories to tell. Are you
No, man, I'm good.
you're
I can't
good?
top that.
You're
So,
good. So, what you been watching, man? You watching anything? Reading anything?
all right. So I got a little kid who doesn't give me a lot of time. In the
Don't
afternoons
give me
after
that
work.
shit. You've watched plenty of show stuff.
A lot of it's one of those a lot of 30 minutes here, 30 minutes there kind of thing. So I haven't actually watched any like movies or anything like that. So when the only thing I watch on the regular is Great British Bake Off because that's a show that you can literally stop at any given spot and not have to worry about like remembering where you are in the story. It's good entertainment, simple, fun, wholesome, and my kid can scream at me if so chooses, and I don't have to worry about like, oh, I missed what they said.
Yeah, I was
uh,
I was watching that
yeah.
when they gave me a teeth cleaning. I don't know if I told you this before, but they gave me a
Nope.
teeth cleaning at the dentist one time, and that was on, and that was probably the first time I ever actually watched a good chunk of it. And that show is so calming and peaceful. Very nice,
Dude, it's wholesome. It's like
wholesome.
the contestants help each other out. They're not all cutthroat because there's no fucking prize, other than adoration of your colleagues, and that's really it. It's not, there's no whole hard cash. It's when people leave, they like they cry and shit like that. It's decent. I rather like it a lot.
Sweet show.
Granted, I realize I'm super judgy. Just like you look funny. I'm not. I don't like you, or you sound like Alan Rickman. I'm totally going to go vote for you. Like
You're
I'm
only
I'm
just
rooting
now
for you in the
realizing that.
background. So no, that's a good show.
Yeah.
It's we made it into season 5-ish or 6. It's
Wow.
the second season where they had switched the entire cast except for Paul Hollywood. Um, so they have I don't remember anyone's names. I'm so terrible with names. They switched out one of the two comedic side hosts. There is a the tall goth dude from IT Crowd.
Hmm.
Yeah, it's I can't remember his name, but he's pretty funny. He does a good job. He actually's not as silly as he is in other things that I've seen him in. There's a show called like the quiz of everything or something like that. And you can watch it on YouTube. And it's pretty funny. So it's a panel, three teams of two, and he's been on there a couple times with like Russell Brand and stuff like that. And he acts way more silly in there than he does in the Great British Bake Off. So yeah, it's good. I like it.
It's cool.
Then I've just been watching a lot of anime. New seasons have started. I'm primarily only watching them dubbed. I don't care if it's dubbed or subbed. That's where I stand on that whole argument. I do dubbed currently because I can't afford the time to sit and focus. Because once again, I have a child. It's not like I'm just gonna sit back, relax, and do nothing, So it's more like if I need to eat my food, I can pay attention and like take care, feed him. That's fine. So I've been watching a handful of things. Season three of an anime called Chihayafuru, and that is about Karuta. It's a card game. Uh, it's a poem card game. It's really hard to explain to Americans who don't know. Essentially,
Huh.
you have a deck of cards that are like 100. I believe it's 100 poems, and you and your opponent get divvied up. A little less than half of the cards each, because there's going to be some like ghost cards or some dead cards, and you lay them down face up in any order that you want on your half. You do your cards on your half, and there's an announcer. They have a poem. They have a start to this poem. It's like an intro cadence, and then what they do is they do their intro cadence, and then they'll start to read one of the actual poems, and essentially you try to hear the poem and you try to slap the card or grab the card from the field. First one to make contact and knock it out of the field, or grab it, gets to reduce a card on their side, or take the card up, and they get to slide one of their cards over to the opponent.
I have heard of this, and I have. Is it a few years old, or is the season three the newest season that just came out?
Season three is the newest one that came out. It's been out, I guess, for maybe about 4 years, I think, 3 or 4 years.
So
I'm
they
not
had
sure
like a
how fast they've
hiatus or
been dubbing
something.
it, but it's been out for at least 3 years. Um,
Okay. Because
and
I
yeah, it's
remember
pretty good.
seeing something like this. I thought it was interesting because it's like, isn't there like a girl that's like really good at it, but then there's like another girl who's like insanely good? No, I remember this. I remember this. Yeah, I saw like a real life, there's like a real life version of this, isn't there?
Yes, they did make a live action movie.
No, but I mean
I wouldn't.
like this is a real game that people really play.
Oh no, it's a traditional game. It
Wow.
is
Yeah.
up
Okay.
there. It's now I wouldn't say it's as as highly classed as chess, but it's a traditional classic game. So those who like Go or Shogi, Shogi being the Japanese chess and Go being a much more complicated board of stones, white and black stones. You
Yeah.
just have to look it up. It's just called Go. So
I like
yes,
Go a
it's those
lot.
classic traditional games. Karuta has a they have their own it's televised and stuff like that too, to a certain extent. You don't really make a lot of money off of it per se, but it's admiration. Like you get the notoriety of all your a lot of people, because it's hard essentially. And of course this is very much a sports. It's in that vein of a sports anime where
Yeah.
they go really deep into it, and they make it accessible enough for those who don't understand it, which is cool. But at the same time, they'll draw a match for an entire episode. But I think it's better than baseball anime, because baseball anime will fucking go forever on a single inning. Uh,
The Japanese do
so
love their baseball.
yeah, well that and, I mean I love I like Ippo, Hajime no Ippo. It's a boxing anime,
Yeah.
but they will do internal monologues so much. It's like a Dragon Ball episode where it's like, wait a minute, no way in hell you just thought all that stuff, or you said this out loud to your opponent mid punch. Fuck off, because if that was in real time, you'd be speaking like a chipmunk, like the fast forward. you know,
That's
that's
what
exactly how to come off.
that's what we call anime bullshit.
That's movie magic, right? It's just
Yeah.
it's that anyways, no, it's a really decent one. It's season three, has some weak points in it. I'm not liking the main female character as much. I feel that she's given too many. I don't know. She's just they're giving her too many chances, I guess, as it were. People are showing her a little too much favoritism, in my opinion. But uh, I don't know. And I'm there's a couple characters that they follow. It's the three childhood friends. One boy whose father or no grandfather whose grandfather was um like one of the crown champions. So he learned the game from him, and he moves away. But during they stayed together for a short time. He teaches his two friends, the main female character and the other guy character. And they end up meeting together again. And they left in elementary school. They meet together in high school on the circuit, as it were. And yeah, it's just entertaining. It's good. I like it a lot. It fits along those anime like March Comes in Like a Lion, which is about shogi. Uh, that one's on Netflix. March Comes in Like a Lion. It can be a little heavy at times, but it's pretty good. And then uh, Go. There's a couple of them about Go. The old one was Hikaru no Go, which was a long time ago. Um, no pun on that one, I guess. But yeah, there is that's been my main watch for my wife and I, and then there's uh, the second season part two of the what's that something like the time I got reincarnated as a slime. Uh,
Okay.
yeah, dude dies, gets reincarnated as a slime, and thanks to the power of anime, he becomes super OP. Uh,
Okay.
he ends up he's in a cave, befriends an imprisoned dragon, and essentially by consuming the dragon whole, he then gets a power boost. But the dragon's still alive. It's just like he's just trying to more or less decode or encrypt, unlock the imprison that he's in.
So
Uh,
as a slime, he like gets around someone and then digests them.
so he will yeah, so he's killed, like he'll kill a monster and he'll eat it and he'll gain some of their skills and abilities. Uh,
So he's kind of
and
becoming like Attack of the Blob type thing. Just the
Kind of, yeah.
okay.
So yeah, as that's how he power levels pretty quick, and then he ends up taking over a town of goblins, and he has a high MP. Essentially, he has really high magic count, and so he then has the ability to name people. And by like, if you ever play an RPG, you have your regular monster thug, but then you'll have a named monster thug or whatever, and that named one is of course of better quality. So when he starts naming the villagers, it costs MP, but they end up getting stat boosts and everything, and it's actually a fun, entertaining series. Like I said, it's technically season two, part two, so it's like four seasons, it feels like.
Okay. So
Uh,
are they breaking it up like that?
yeah, essentially they did so they did season two part one, and they took a hiatus,
I
and
see.
then next time around the season, so it's still, I guess, whatever it classifies as season two story arc, I guess. I don't know. But
Okay.
it's just it's lighthearted, and it's not doesn't take itself too seriously. I don't really have a lot of time for things that are too heavy-handed.
Do you have to watch too closely because you don't have enough
I
bandwidth for that?
Yeah, I like things to be a little less drama, I guess, at this time of my life. I don't need anything too weighing, I'm not gonna watch a Breaking Bad at this point in my life.
Yeah,
you
Breaking
know,
Bad's pretty hard to watch now because I just went back and tried to watch it fairly recently, and I was like, gosh, I forgot how. I mean, even before they start showing you the depressing stuff, just the weight of that show is so depressing
mhm.
from the jump. It's just hard on you.
Yeah. Well, speaking of another light one, it's I'm watching was it season 5 of now is My Hero Academia.
Yeah.
So think a better version of X-Men is about the way I put it.
Don't just shut the fuck up. You don't get to say that.
Oh,
Which
guess what
X-Men?
I do?
You mean like the classic,
See,
like
the fact that you have to say which X-Men proves my point. Everything's great. Dude, that X-Men is super fucking hard to watch, okay?
I haven't
That
tried.
yeah, that one is fucking bad. It's great in its soap opera melodrama,
Yeah.
but if you have you actually gone to watch it? Episode 1, they're super heavy on the racial like climate, and like it's very much early 90s, uh, in the era of like, well, much like now, police oppression, Rodney King, and all that stuff. Like, oh yeah, it totally translates to how that
I
first.
did try to go back. I wasn't serious about trying to go back and watch it, but I wanted to go back and I just kind of dabbled in it. So went back and watched that first episode, and Jubilee is insufferable. She's just like, Mom and Dad don't understand me. I'm a mutie. And then she's like, oh, blood. And the Sentinel comes in and like blows up the neighborhood. And I'm like, that wouldn't happen. Like that, you can't just do that. Like they're going to
Dude,
sue you.
without that, just take that, omit, just don't even think about Jubilee, and just listen to the shit that comes out of fucking Wolverine, Jean Grey, and fucking
Yeah.
Cyclops. That like that's just the just shit they spew about. Oh, it is so bad, man.
Well, I mean,
Uh,
like
it's
it's
it's fun.
dated. It's a
It's as
kid
fun as
show.
a bad watch. Okay, that's how I
Yeah.
say. Nowadays, it's totally great as a bad watch. Make a drinking game of it, maybe. I don't know, but uh,
Yeah, I'm sure you could. I'm sure you could. I do want to go back and watch it just like out of the corner of my eye. Like put it on like while I'm making dinner over a long time because I feel like because when I was a kid I missed a bunch of episodes and I always wanted to go back, but it's probably a little bit too late. But anyway,
I
how's
actually I like their later on they made X-Men Evolved, which was like a WB more quote unquote at the time more modern art style.
right?
That one wasn't bad. But anyways,
Yeah,
then
so you're talking about My Hero Academia season 5. I have always I've heard that it's good. I heard a lot of people love it. Some people that I've listened to say that it's kind of just another one of those. But I'm curious as to. But
okay.
I do kind of want to go and check it out at some point. I'm curious as to what you think about it.
I actually think it's really good. Season one is a rock solid season for a hero-esque or like any of these kind of well, it's a Shonen Jump property, okay? So Shonen Jump being the people who make Dragon Ball, I think Hunter x Hunter, things like that. So it's very much young adolescent, elementary school like boys or middle school boys targeted mostly. Um, so this one though has a great concept of, well, the X-Men the analogy is very similar though because uh unlike X-Men in this one most of the world has powers. It's actually a smaller percentage that don't have powers, and they have they have different all the superheroes are licensed and they have agencies. So they are licensed to take down bad guys, and so to join an agency or to start your own to be an official hero, you have to go to school.
Yeah.
So that therefore you know how to use your powers correctly, you know how to do certain crisis situations and all that stuff. And they divvy it up between like not just fighting bad guys, but also like search and rescue and stuff like that. So you actually have the they make fun of the Universal Studios Japan. I forgot they have a training ground called USJ, but it's for crisis management. I forget what the actual acronym stood for. But yeah, no, it's neat that way. The main character is this powerless kid who idolizes the Superman of the series. His name is All Might, and he's this blonde, big buffy guy who's just like he's that traditional archetype of like I'm Mr. Chin, I'm pretty much all powerful and perfect.
Yeah.
Uh, it's great because all his attacks are American cities followed by smash.
Like, give me an
No joke.
example.
Detroit Smash. Like no shit like that. It's really funny.
That's like a good
And
like wrestling like character.
it's
Like
pretty good. His
like
hair does
the
this two like rabbit ear like antenna like comes so it makes a V like for victory.
like
It's so dumb. It's
Boston
so good.
Smash, New Orleans Smash.
He does. It's I
Pretty
think
good.
it's like Tennessee or Kentucky or some shit like that he does.
Okay.
And it is really funny. He essentially though he's secretly no one knows he's weakened, and so this kid who's looked up to him who's powerless and he's been looking up to him his entire life happens to discover his secret. That he and when he transforms to the he's not always he's like Superman. Like you got the buff version, but then you got the dweeby looking guy. Well, it turns out he actually transforms. He's like this bean sprout of a dude coughing up blood, and he's just all like this gangly looking dude. And it's really funny because my wife loves that version of him because he just looks so funny. Um, and he finds that the kid has heart. He has despite being powerless, he has the drive and the willingness to try to help people. And so he decides to try to pass his ability because he can do that. He can pass his ability to a successor, as it was passed on to him. And that's kind of
Okay.
they go season one is about him like going through that and doing the montage. So,
Okay.
but the montage is great because it's so much quicker than other shit. Like in a normal Shonen Jump or like Dragon Ball Z, if you're used to it, that shit would take forever. Just drag on episode after episode. It really doesn't. It actually books much faster than it takes maybe a few episodes, but it moves at a good pace. Main characters are, like he's funny. He's likable because he's a weak kid. He's not super cocky or anything like that. So you feel like he's an earnest young man.
Yeah.
Um, and so that's what makes him a likable person. And yeah, it's him going to trying to get to school. And the other seasons, not every season's a banger. Like some of them, they have their highs and lows. This latest season, about half of it's been really good. The other part, like it's the first time it's like, oh wow, these episodes are kind of dragging. Like they're stretching out this one part really bad. I'm wondering how far. I don't read the manga, so I'm wondering if it's getting caught up to the manga, and so they're like, we have to stretch it out because we need more issues or something. Because that's what happens a lot of times with anime,
Yeah.
is
The anime
what
always outpaces the manga.
yeah, and if they're not finished in time, then that's when you have like Full Metal Alchemist issue where like or problem where then the ending half of the original series is very different because they kind of got the gist of it from the creators, but then they're like, okay, we're gonna go and do our own thing with it, and that's why it doesn't match up to what the manga finally, and that's when, oh, the book was better kind of scenario because uh it's differs wildly. So I'm not really sure. I can't compare any of that, but the anime's good. I'll vouch for it. A lot of people for you to pick from, and and it's a pretty good dynamic there. So
Yeah.
then I guess the last two of them, real quick, were the Saints' magic power is omnipotent. Uh,
Okay.
that's a long. It's so anime. A lot of the anime, the new trend is what's called isekai, which means to be transported to another world essentially.
Okay.
So
Huh.
you can kind of argue like this has been around not just in anime, but like you can argue like Alice in Wonderland is an isekai because
Yeah.
she's literally taken to another world. Um, and taken to another world can mean a couple things in this. Like technically, if you've ever watched Spirited Away,
Yeah.
that would be prime example. And you'd either be taken as you are now, like boom, you are the same person you are now in your same body, but in a fantasy. Usually it's a like a medieval fantasy magic and sorcery kind of world, knights and stuff. Um, Sometimes you'll either be transported as whole, like, oh, I literally got a portal wrapped around me, and now I'm here. And of course, it's generally like, oh, you're the hero of our land. Um, the popular ones now are you're just a random hero, or it's based off a video game, like an RPG. Like,
Yeah.
oh, I play this RPG, and now I'm in my RPG world, and like I have all the skills of my character. You know,
So like there was a bunch of I feel like there's a bunch of movies like that in the 90s. A bunch of like kids movies. Like wasn't like like the Macaulay Culkin Wizard Library movie, something like that. And then
Age
like
Master, I think, is what you're talking
Page
about.
Master. Didn't that
And
have something like
I saw it once, and I don't remember a damn thing
and
about it.
then like
I'm surprised I
Neverending
remember the name.
Story is like kind of like that. And like where isn't he like a normal kid who gets whisked off to the Neverending Story
Uh,
land?
Never in a story. He only gets taken into the end of the first movie. It's actually he's just reading the events that happen in the other world. It's in the end of the first movie.
Oh, that's
They
it.
come
That's it.
they
He's
come in and they
reading
grab
it.
him, and
Yeah.
that's where the second movie is.
Oh, okay.
Um,
The-
but it's still you can relate it to that
At
kind
least
of
the second one.
concept.
Yeah. So
Uh,
we've had our dabbles with that in
yeah.
American culture too.
And then or the other thing is when you die. Like I was in a car accident and or I'm and now I'm reborn into the other world. but I have all my old memories. So now I have the knowledge of the knowledge and the food and all this other stuff of our modern civilization. But now I'm in the old times, and but now my world has magic. So I'm gonna make a fucking washing machine because I know how to make a washing machine, but I'm gonna use like the different abilities of magic and this low end technology or some crap like that. It's or I'm gonna introduce modern food like noodles, and it's or how to do crop rotations and stuff like that. That's so there's a lot of that kind of stuff. So you can either be reborn and then you'll have that knowledge the second common one. So you either come as is, or you're reborn,
Okay.
and that's anyways. That's what the isekai genre.
So like that's
Uh,
what Saint's magic power is omnipotent is
yes,
like.
that is. So she's and so the other thing is you're either a high school kid or something like, or you're like a corporate slave, because a lot of people who have the money to like anime are these people who are corporate slaves, and so who end up working like super late, and that's how they die a lot of times. I died of overwork,
Yeah. Yeah.
or I died by getting hit by a truck, which is a meme upon itself by saying you got killed by Truck-kun. So, because Truck-kun strikes again because they make so many isekai and there is like a large percentage of them that get killed by getting hit by a truck. And I forget which one, but there was one that a dude gets almost hit by a truck and he's like, "Ooh!" And then all of a sudden, out of the back of the truck, a horse jumps out and crushes him, and he dies that way.
So they
Like,
get so they're onto the joke.
yeah, for sure. Like total arrow to the knee kind of meme humor.
Let's
Um,
see.
so, anyways, the this one is a corporate slave. She is I don't know, late 20s, maybe 30s. I don't know. But she's working a corporate slave lifestyle, comes home, and next thing she knows, she's teleported to another world. But there happens to be the twist is, which happens a bit, is someone else gets pulled in as well. I'm assuming she's in the entrance to her apartment. So my bet is it's someone who's above her or below her that in the apartment complex also got beamed up with her.
Oh,
And so essentially it's one of those two could be the saint, and the prince automatically snuffs her and then chooses the other one, like, oh, you must be the saint because she's like the high school girl. uh and it's a weird thing, but unlike a lot of these shows where the main character is very unaware of what's going on, she figures out real quick on how the world works, how things are doing, and like she figures her own power, and she's very much a competent person, and I like that. uh that is actually refreshing, as sad to say. you know so no, it's a good series. I don't want to give too much away about it, uh but honestly it's decent. She's a good female lead. Has um if I don't know what the source material is, but it very much feels like a Tome game. A Tome being a female dating sim,
okay.
meaning a dating sim targeting women. So usually female main character, and you have a bunch of guys to pick from.
Okay,
Uh,
yeah.
so unlike so a couple of isekai ones also have it now being like, oh, I'm in this otome game as either the main heroine, or now the popular thing is, oh, I'm the villain. So now that means I have to change. I am doomed at the end of the story. How am I going to fix my doom, storyline?
I
Uh,
see.
so there's a lot of that too. But in this one, instead of being like, oh, who's going to be the Mr. Right, actually they kind of set a good path right off the bat. Like, no, this is who she's picking. You see all these other pretty boys, and you're like, yeah, I can see them going with one or the other. But no, they're totally picking. So they kind of choose a path for you, and I'm like, good on you. It's not the Tenchi Muyo. Uh, I have all these cute girls, and I don't know which one to pick, kind of, and I'm just gonna be a middling, no good piece of garbage. Uh, and the last one is, uh, here, how a realist hero rebuilds a kingdom. And that one is another isekai. Dude gets teleported over, and essentially a smaller kingdom is like, we have this ancient ritual to summon a hero from the other world, and this major kingdom is fighting off like the demon army, and we need to pay reparations, or like we're like everyone's pitching in, but we don't have a lot of money, so we're offering you. And he's just like, wait a minute, that I'm gonna have to, like, how about, like, so you just have to make up so much money, right? And once we get that money, we can pay them off for now. And they're like, yeah. He goes, give me like some time to, and so he ends up coming up with a plan and selling like how they can change their economy around so they can create funds to pay, and then
So like
yeah,
he
it's
understands economics
yes, he
and how
does. Yeah,
in a more like a 21st century kind of way, and they don't understand like capitalism and stuff like that. So he just has to put that in, and it's simple fixes to make them money.
yep, exactly.
Cool.
And so he that's where the whole realist person is. And
Mm.
so he does stuff, he's like, we need to sell all your all like treasury. Like you have your national, treasure and hoarding, like jewels and shit like that. Sell all that, but keep the actual heirlooms, the historical stuff, you can keep that. All this other glitter and glamour, sell that crap, and boost your coffers, things of that nature. He's like, our people are starving because you're not growing vegetables, you're growing cotton, because when the war started, you need to make cotton was a cash crop, but now all the other countries are building cotton, and now cotton prices are down, so he bring it's a very different, once again, it's very different, and that's why I like it.
Okay.
It's I'm only a few episodes into it, but I actually think it's pretty good. And that's this, that's your anime. I don't know, 20 minutes.
It's your anime minute. That's pretty cool, dude. I've also been watching anime. Um, I have been watching one that you mentioned that you had some opinions on, and I'm just gonna kind of say a couple things that I don't like about it and do like about it, and then you can let me know what you think about that, because I think we might have some similar things. So I've been watching a little anime called Black Clover, and I think it just finished up its fifth season, or
Okay.
it's like 170 episodes. I think it's over now. I think it's completely finished, but I don't know for sure. So if I'm wrong, don't tell me. But anyway, I've made it through about the first 20 episodes of that. Um, Early on, I was like, I don't know about this main character, because all he was doing was screaming, and I do mean screaming, Mahote Ninaru, which means I'll become the Wizard King. And they still do that, but now it's more cool. So when he's
Oh,
so in
oh wait,
those
I'm sorry. So you're watching this subtitled then?
Yeah, I'm watching this subbed. So going back to what you were saying about subbed versus dubbed, I will try my best now to watch subbed anime, mostly because want to try to keep I want to try to keep up my Japanese, and that's like the easiest, free-ish way to do that. Um,
It's
uh,
good listening practice.
it's good
But
listening
you end up
practice.
learning weird words,
You
like
end up
what you
learning
just
weird
said.
words, cadence, pronunciation, stuff like that. But like I learned Mahote Ninaru, because they said that like 80 fucking thousand times. And I learned a couple other words and stuff like that just in passing. But like him being just this annoying little twerp at the beginning really almost put me off the show, because I was like, I can tell this is the main guy and he just sucks. But whenever, and like him being like, the premise of the show, if you don't know, because I guess not everybody knows, but the premise of the show is that it's a world, it's like a medieval type world, where most people can use magic, and the people who can use magic the best, like as a talent, and then who gain it more as a skill, they get to go be what's called magic knights for the kingdom. So they get to go on adventures and stuff like that. So naturally, the main guy, whose name is Asta, whatever, he wants to be at least a magic knight, and he ultimately wants to become the Wizard King, which is the king of all the wizards, and it just whatever. Um, and the only problem is that Asta can't use magic at all. And he and his uh, brother, who is not related to him, but they're both adopted by this church. So they're unrelated, adopted brothers. his brother is a magical genius. So every single episode, the show shows you that the brother is like a magic savant. Well, so so that is like very infuriating to Asta, but he just keeps trying. He just like keeps trying. And the part where the show won me over was where, because like Asta works out all the time. He just like works like just does push-ups and sit-ups and stuff, and he's super super strong even though he's small. And I was like, this is so dumb. It doesn't do anything if you can't use magic. But the part where the show won me over is that they're all getting basically their grimoires, or the book that allows them to like really use magic at a high level. And he doesn't get one naturally. And so he's like, this can't be right, blah, blah. They have to fight somebody randomly. And then his grimoire shows up. And his grimoire ejects a magical black buster sword, like a la Cloud, a la Berserk. It's just this oversized, massive sword. And then I was like, okay. And then the bad guy tried to use magic on him, and the sword broke the magic, cut through it. And they're like, Ore! And then like in Japanese, they're like, it's a sword that negates magic. And I was like, okay, I like this, because it's like, okay, now you have this whole world where everything operates on magic. But what if you were somebody who could say, fuck that, and has the ultimate defense against magic? Then that person would actually be the most powerful. Anyway, so like that part was pretty interesting. The brother is like his friend and rival, because they talk about that. And the brother's actually very interesting too. He's sort of like the person that the anime should be about. If it was any other anime, it would be about this guy who's just a natural savant and, you know, all that. And he is actually pretty interesting as a character. I like him a lot. But yeah, it after that, it kind of goes into like, it gets kind of tropey in some ways. But it kind of fits into sort of a normal anime loop after that, up to where I'm at right now. But it's good. It's good dumb watching. You know, it's like, it's all right. I actually really like, after the first couple episodes, they stopped screaming so much, and the main character Asta started to be more of a real human being, and they introduced all the other characters. And now I'm like, okay, I like this show. What do you think, Joe?
Show
How far are you into it?
You were right when you said he called him Asta, because he is just ass.
He is yeah.
He is such an annoying character. All right, so what happens is, in a lot of Japanese anime, especially shonen and stuff like that, they try, you just like a real novel or something like that. You want your protagonist to be as bland or as minimalist as possible, because that way the reader, or the average viewer, you can relate, because that's like you. And
they're like a pair of pants.
Yeah.
That you put on.
Frodo, there's a reason why Frodo's the most boring person out of the entire group, because that way, or Neo, Neo is a blank slate, because that is easiest to project yourself onto them.
Yeah.
And so when it comes to Asta, he's a lot of these shonen, or like a lot of these type of properties, they'll make them these really weak underdogs, because everyone likes the underdog story. And also it proves that so long as you try hard and you give it your all, you can will it into existence.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter that you've never touched a guitar and you're now in high school, but you too can be the number one rock star or some bullshit like that. And so that happens a lot in, especially with sports stuff. Like you're too short for to play basketball or something like that, or you know, it's so. I really actually despise that, Dragon Ball does too. Like, I just have to believe and I have to will it, and I'll just do more yelling and screaming and now I'm going to overcome all the obstacles because I have more heart than the other person. Because obviously the person I'm challenging doesn't want to win as much as me, and that's why I have to win.
Yeah.
Uh, but
So
that's
like
very relatable.
I know what you're talking about, and in this world I can kind of forgive it because it's a magical world, so there's like prophecies and stuff. So I'm kind of like, okay, when there's stuff like that, and I am a sucker for that stuff. I like one of my favorite scenes is when in the original Disney animated Mulan, whenever she figures out the the making the weights into a way to climb the pole, I was like, holy shit, I'm a sucker for like that. And that kind of thing is sort of what's going on in Black Clover, because it's like he's doing all these push-ups, he's super strong, and then he gets this big damn sword. And then in the next couple episodes, people try to hold the sword, and he like hands it to him, and they like immediately almost drop it because it's so heavy. And it's like, okay, so he's really strong, and that's all he needs to be, is just really strong to hold this damn sword and just use it. That's like all that he's for. And then, yeah, his character has kind of blanked out a little bit. You know, he has become more just like this, like he doesn't say as much at all. But I just like that he just doesn't quit. And I know. All the little anime boys are just like that in all of the anime shows. But but because he was so annoying at the beginning, and I really almost turned it off. And then it was like he just kept trying hard, and it just won me over because I was like, okay, you're a little piece of shit, but like that's also kind of why I like him, because he's not like likable. He's annoying.
I gave it a good watch.
How far'd you get?
I made it to the dungeon, the completion of the first dungeon they went to.
It's about where I'm at.
Where, yeah, so uh, it just wasn't. I just, as a whole, I didn't think it was very good. I mean, I know a lot of people who like it, so I'm probably the outlier on this one. And it was just, there was something, once again, I'm not a big fan of the gambarimasu, like I will do my best and go, I I can't get behind that because that's not how that works.
You're too pessimistic.
Dude, I don't care. You all of a sudden you fucking get into boxing right now, and then you just try really hard and you montage the shit out of the next 6 months, and then you too can then overcome your rival who happens to be the current champion. Like, nah, dude, that ain't. And
Yeah,
so
I mean, there's limits. Yeah, for sure.
so Asta's foster or whatever, brother. That dude, I don't remember his name. You probably said it, but I forgot it.
I hadn't
Oh
said
yeah,
it yet, but it's
that's right.
it's
That's right, because we fucking we laughed so hard because there was a old Reddit cartoon thing of what if Uno was made into an anime, and it's like it's really sketch drawing, if I remember correctly. Like someone just penciled it out, just a couple scenes, and then they talk really loud over it, like over exaggerated. And they kind of do this Yu-Gi-Oh vibe to it. It's like, and now, like he just put down the red card, and he's not going to expect this one, but now I'm going to pull the skip, and like, yeah, it's like, oh, but he's not going to expect because no, I have the reverse. Oh, well, I'm going to reverse it again. Like, it's like,
I think
and
my
then
friend
it's
showed
just,
me that in college.
It is such a stupid thing, but it's really funny. And the main character was like Uno was what they called him because it was Uno and it was Yu-Gi-Oh! So Uno, watch out, he's gonna yeah yeah.
That's too good.
So that's why when we heard it, his voice or his name, it was so fucking funny. That dude is by far the cooler one of the two, and I would rather watch a thing about him.
Yeah, I mean,
Um,
they kind of like they have him in it enough to where you're not like he's not the bad guy, you know?
No, he's most definitely like you can go one of two ways with it, right? You can either go he's a you can either go with childhood friend turned bad guy, but no, he's actually a good dude who understands his Asta's like potential, and he's pretty stand up. But yeah, well,
So I will say that like, oh, I did have I just thought of a prediction. So my prediction, without having watched the show or looked up anything about it, is that since Yuno is like the most powerful, naturally most powerful magic wielder, and Asta is the most like, and Asta like negates
polar
magic,
opposite, yeah.
polar opposite. I think what they're gonna do at the end, and they both want to be the Wizard King, is that they're gonna be a dual Wizard King at the end,
Yeah,
and
they'll
they're
show that. Yeah, I don't know for sure, but I agree. They'll them sharing the throne, total possibility.
yeah. So I'm gonna. So the other thing I was gonna say is that like this show, I've given the show the best possible slot in my time to watch it because I don't watch it with dinner. I don't like sit down and just like watch it. Like I have it on Crunchyroll. I download episodes, I pull them up, and I just watch it on my phone while I'm shoving food in my mouth. And it's like I'm at work. I'm not really gonna do anything else. I'm not gonna watch a movie. I'm not gonna put a good show on. I just need something to like do while I eat. And so the expectations are super low. And so it's fitting right into that. It's probably why I have a little bit of an inflated like enjoyment of it
All
maybe.
right, I'll have two more things to say on it. One, the only good thing to come from the whole series is a joke between my wife and I because they have this one side
Only
character
good thing.
who fucking does the laugh. And in the English, it's ha ha. I don't know what it is in Japanese. It's
I don't
probably
remember
or so.
that.
He's the dude who you meet in the market. He's like, he's during the tournament. After the tournament, they're in the black market area. He's a recurring character.
Okay.
But he's this pompous dude, and he always, but at least in the English version, he's just like. He just does this laugh like ha ha, it's so fucking dumb.
And
But it's yeah,
and
it's you can mock it easy enough, and so I've done that. I do that from time to time, just out of doing something. It's not quite the Mickey Mouse, like fucking thing, but it's pretty fucking close.
in Japanese, I don't remember that, so they may not have gone with that flurry. But there
He
is
has to have a laugh, dude. There's no way. Japanese people love to have the laugh. So
I'll
I'm curious. I'll look it up. You're gonna make me look this up, but
I'll try to
yeah.
find it. But there is one character, and I'm sure it's been done before, but I just think he's so funny. And I have to watch a subtitle because you can't hear him otherwise. And it's that the goth guy, and he like talks like super he likes to talk super low, like this. And he always says like what he like they're like, we're gonna go to the market. He's like, I wanna come too. And like he would just talk so quietly. And I mean, I'm sure a lot of other animes have done that, but I just laugh every freaking time. It's it's so stupid.
It's one of those things that I think it's because I've watched so much anime that I've become so the other part that's come from this is when we were watching it, this was totally what we consider our palate cleanser.
Okay, yeah.
After watching so much anime, like every now and then we'll start to watch a bad anime. Something that like, oh dude, this is kind of what like this is the scouring pad that rubs your brain raw and then lets you accept other stuff. So then next time you watch something that because you become so jaded and so like you're like, oh, something that's good, you'll be like, no, dude, that's shit. But like, no, I've watched something that's bad now. So now that I watch something that's just okay, I'm like, you know what? That's better than I would have probably given it because I've only been staying up on here my elite cloud, watching only the cream of the crop, and now I'm like, oh no, I've consumed this garbage. and yeah, man, that was bad. No, it really
It
wasn't
brings
as
you
bad
back
as I'm
down to
making it.
reality so that
Yeah.
you're like primed now to accept good anime again. Um,
You know, so I mean, like I said, I see its merit and I understand why people like it to a certain extent, but it's just that I could not get behind that main character. He just annoyed the shit out of me. And then
yeah.
I don't know, I just feel like there's so much other anime that did similar, and because time is so pressing, we gave it a good watch. We watched like I don't know a dozen plus episodes because we made it to the end of the first dungeon, and somehow or another we fell off, started watching something else, and we never turned back.
Yeah, I mean, if you like, you got to the end of the first dungeon, which I think that diamond guy, right?
Yeah, because it was the other country. Yeah, the other country was also invading that dungeon because it was
Yeah.
right on the border.
So like
Uh,
I'm just past that part. So you made it like deep in the second season. So that's plenty enough to know if you're gonna like it or not. But I will say, so I was watching that, and then I went and watched another anime that I didn't put on the docket, but I'm gonna talk about it real quick. Um, I started rewatching Cowboy Bebop, and going from Black Clover to Cowboy Bebop is just fucking insane. But going from those two, going from one to the other, I just pine for that '90s anime. And of course, Cowboy Bebop is among the best, but like the animation is just so much better. That old style. I mean, I know they were using computers a lot then, but they were so much closer to like cell
they
shaded.
weren't. I was say they weren't really back then because you're talking about 2001.
98.
Um, yeah. So and no, computers weren't being used. It was a lot of that was still hand drawn cell animation.
Really?
Um,
Even
dude,
for even in 98?
Windows 98 was not like capable of producing quality.
I
Um,
guess in Japan, I know that the Little Mermaid was like the first time back for Disney to really come back into like feature length animation and stuff. And that was in 91, and they were using computer assisted drawing. So I just assumed by 98, they had to be doing some just with more powerful machines.
because
Um,
Japan was used still very primed into the old ways because Japan's very
yeah,
stubborn
it's
on
just slow to change.
changing,
Yeah.
and so they were still doing a lot of hand drawing because you were able to buy cells like animation cells of a lot of anime that up
Oh, dude.
until the early 2000s. So that's kind of how it was. And then unfortunately, when they finally really started getting into CG, you get like now it's they love using CG, and when they do it on people, it looks like hot garbage. It is the most stilted, like Pixar one, like Woody, his stiff like
Oh, you.
movements. That is very much what they do, and they do that because it's cheaper in a lot of ways. So they'll do that for mob characters, like you need an army behind you, and so you literally have a blank face, like literally no face, uh, per like army of people just running, and they'll have a sword and a shield, and you'll just be like running with their arms like was that Nutcracker style or something like that. Just very stilted and robotic, running down in hordes of people, and it's really bad. Oh, or they'll use it. They do it a lot of in the idol stuff.
Okay.
So I'm trying Love Live. I think Love Live. They'll use computer drawings. Or they'll use do the cell shaded. So it's for the normal drawings, but they'll actually use 3D modeling for the dances, and it looks so bad. Um,
Hmm.
it's very robotic because they're all like it's not a natural fluid movement, and it's just like you can tell it's the I forget what you call it, not the when you see that disconnect between a machine and reality or a real
The
person.
Uncanny Valley.
Yeah, that's exactly it. The uncanny valley.
Yeah.
You really notice that when it comes to their animating of people. I support it when you're doing something like I'm going to animate a monster or
Yeah.
scenery. That's fine.
So you're talking
But
about like computer generated animation that's
Both.
not that's not 2D.
Because now almost everything they do is computer drawn, like drawn up with computers, and you can tell that cell shadedness of it. But that's okay for the most part. But they rely when they actually do real CG, that's when it's really bad.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah.
Yeah, like I mean like that's kind of what turned me off of anime whenever like in the mid 2000s or late 2000s is I was just like, man, everything is going to that look, that, that CG as shit look. And watching Cowboy Bebop, just like I'm gonna have to look up and see how much I want to look up how much computer they were using because I know they had to be using a little bit, but because I do see there is some
They
very
do it for the warp
bad.
gates. The warp gates, they
The
actually
warp
do
gates are
actual
very
like
bad. So I was going to say that like the CG that they do use, I know is like in the warp gates and some of the space stuff, and that looks pretty horrible. But like as far as like the like individual drawings, the music is fucking amazing. It's so perfect. It's just so authentic and it all fits and it's all weird and different. And the voice acting, like I've always wanted to go back and watch the Japanese version, like subbed, but like, and I will do that. But like, man, those American voice actors, like, I know their mouths don't always fit right, but daggum, do they fit those characters perfectly? Like every single one of those characters, especially the main three, Jet, Spike, and Faye, they're so cool. They're just cool. Like Fonzie is cool. Like they just have it. And
talking about
it's
Ed and Nine aren't cool, man.
what?
I said Ed and Nine aren't cool.
Like Ed and Nine are they're cool, but they're not cool. You know?
No, for sure. It like especially for the time, it just oozed, coolness. There was nothing really out there that hit mass appeal at like this. And I think a big part of it was was that Yoko Kanno, who's the
Yes.
composer of and with the band Seatbelts.
Yep.
That music, like the opening song Tank is
Unbelievable.
legendary. There's a reason why no matter what like generation you can just like any new fan so long as you like sci-fi you're and even if you don't like sci-fi it's like it's honestly this is almost anyone can watch it and enjoy it
Yeah.
um so and it is a classic for a reason so I honestly think that's great. I understand you thinking that animation of that era, and I do love that animation of the era. I also I feel nostalgic, that kind of nostalgicness for anime of the 80s.
Yeah.
Uh,
It's a lot of good
it's
80s shit.
it's really good, and that was straight up hand drawn. It's just like,
Oh
oh, it
man.
looks so good. Like the early mock-ups of like Ghost of the Shell and stuff like that. The actual the manga drawings of that stuff. I really love that quality art. I feel that they lost a lot when they started doing going to more computer stuff. Not everything is that way, but you can actually see different every like 5 maybe 10 years you can see the art shift
Yeah.
and
So
you know
like Miyazaki has, I think Miyazaki has probably the best way of doing it, and his thing was always no more than 10% of what we do can be computer. And
not anymore. That went out the window a while ago.
I mean, like I have watched some of like I watched this little documentary. I think it's called The Never Ending Man, and it's just about him and like a project he was working on. And they were using a lot more computer, I guess, but like a lot of the preliminary stuff was done by hand. And I think that 10% rule, even if he's broken it, which he probably has, I think that 10% rule is probably about right, maybe as much as 20%, because it's just it looks so much better when some of it is done by hand,
Oh, I agree with you.
like a
Everything
good chunk of it.
from Spirited Away from before and earlier follows that rule.
Yeah,
After Spirited Away,
maybe
that's
not.
when things get dicey. I'm pretty sure Ponyo, which was like a different take on the Little Mermaid. I'm pretty sure that probably broke the rule. And I think they're doing an all CG one now.
Yeah, I mean he's so old now, and
Well,
people.
he didn't. I think he stepped down, and his son was been taking over for a while.
Yeah, and
Uh,
they drove away. I mean, I don't want to get into too much in this, but it's just so interesting to me. But like they drove away the guy that did Your Name and Weathering with You, who's like he's like the people are saying he's the new Miyazaki, which I mean, he's very good, but his stories are not really on the same level. Um, but he like worked for Studio Ghibli, and in true Japanese fashion, they wouldn't let him do anything that he wanted to do, and he was like, "Fuck this shit," and he like bailed out of there. But like, and that's like why like Ghibli is kind of going away. But um, like you were saying about Ghost in the Shell, I do know that Ghost in the Shell did use computer stuff
the
because
animation for sure. That's what made it really cool at the time.
they had to because like there's a part where there's a person who goes to type on a keyboard and their fingers split into like 20 different robot fingers and they type and like they couldn't have done that or I mean you could have but like it just would have taken an insane amount of time and see stuff like that it's like okay that little scene computer speed it up. It only takes like 2 seconds, and you're so wowed by it that you can't really stop to look at it. That is like perfect for like computer stuff. But anyway, I've just been rewatching Cowboy Bebop, and it's such a good show. I am enjoying it all over again. Um,
There's never a wrong time to watch it. I mean, really, it's
yeah,
always good. It's always in season. It's always good.
it's always good. But switching from that back to live action stuff, I watched Free Guy in the theater. This is a movie that is about a NPC in a video game that becomes sentient essentially, and hijinks ensue. It's pretty good. It's a kids movie. It's silly. It does have some pretty good adult humor that they hide very very well, and like it's pretty much just a popcorn movie. Ryan Reynolds is the main guy, but he's kind of bland. They let him be funny, but they really don't. They really kind of neuter him. Honestly, he doesn't really. He says the lines and he does the part, but like there's a lot of other characters that are doing the like heavy lifting acting. He's sort
So
of
would you? I'm sorry.
no,
So
go
would you
ahead.
say that he's more like the main guy from the Lego Movie? That kind of personality.
I don't even remember who the main guy from the Lego movie is. I just remember Batman. So probably, yeah. So he is sort of a blank slate, because but it kind of makes sense because he's just an NPC. But it's pretty good. It's a pretty good story. Being someone who's into video games and that world, it kind of over explains things, but I like, to me, but I'm like, I get it. I get it. There's going to be some people in here who don't, who aren't in this world. And it has a bunch of, Twitch megastars and a couple of YouTube like megastars who comment on it, like in the movie. And those scenes stick out really, really, really badly. And they're really
I bet.
annoying because those people are really annoying. Because these are people who are like, I mean, they've got, freaking millions and millions of subscribers. Um, but they try to keep those things pretty like tucked away, but they're pretty constant too. Um, it's all right. It's pretty good. I wouldn't say if you've got a decent TV, I wouldn't say go and see it in the theater. But whenever it comes to like whenever it comes out on streaming, it would be worth getting a bag of popcorn and watching it on like a Saturday night or something. I think it's all right. Um,
Yeah,
but
I actually was interested in watching it. I think it's I don't know. I think it's just dumb enough,
Yeah,
humor. But at the same time, I don't know. It was at least a clever take. But I didn't know about the streamer bit, but I'm like that kind of made me roll my eyes because I was like, geez.
it's really
Uh,
not that much. I mean, they just pop in, but they pop in throughout the movie, probably about three or four main times where like because it's news, like because the streamers are reacting to what's happening in the game, so they're like they're like five streamers and they all have a take three times in the movie, something like that.
okay.
And
Well,
there's
just because you were wondering, so Emmett is the name, I believe, of the Lego Movie main person, and who's voiced by Chris Pratt,
okay, it's
who's
perfect.
also going to be the new
We'll get to
voice
that.
of.
We'll get to that. We'll get to
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
Don't spoil
Okay.
it. Even though everybody already knows, don't spoil it. We're gonna talk about that. So anyway, just cutting through the rest of Free Guy, like it's good. It's good, dumb fun. Don't expect too much. The other movie I watched is a movie called Kate on Netflix. It just came out probably 2 weeks ago, I think. It's a Mary Elizabeth Winstead, who was in first time I ever saw her was in Scott Pilgrim versus the World, and then she's been in a lot of other stuff since then. She's actually a pretty good actress, I think. She
Who does
is.
she play in Scott Pilgrim?
She's the girlfriend.
Okay, all right.
She's like the main chick. She's
Yeah.
Ramona, I think is her name. So anyway, so this movie is about Mary Elizabeth Winstead is an assassin, and it all takes place in Japan. And so she is hired by the Yakuza, but she doesn't know it yet, really. But she's hired by the Yakuza to take care of things, and I guess that's why they live in Japan. But her handler, the person who raised her, is Woody Harrelson. And that dynamic is okay. He's not in it very much. You can tell that he probably did all of his scenes in like a day or maybe two, because it's short and sweet. But he does do the Woody Harrelson. You know, he does like. I didn't feel like he mailed it in. I felt like he was like, okay, I'm here. I'm Woody Harrelson. I'm gonna say the lines the way Woody Harrelson says the lines, and it was good. It was fine. But this movie, just because you and me, we are more familiar with Japanese than most people. So a couple times she speaks Japanese, and her pronunciation is pretty atrocious.
Okay.
It's just strung together sounds, and I was like, I guess that was Japanese, but it's just like like I'm trying to give a good example,
It's when you robotically say each syllable, like konnichiwa, and like instead of saying it
konnichiwa,
fluid.
arigato
Yeah.
gozaimasu, and it's like, okay, yeah, it's like arigato gozaimasu. It has a musicality to it, and she's just saying arigato gozaimasu, and it's like, okay, that didn't really make sense, but it's a pretty good action movie. I'm not gonna go through the whole setup, but it's a revenge movie. Um, and Mary Elizabeth Winstead does some pretty good uh, kicking and shooting and stabbing. She gets the shit beat out of her pretty good too. Um, and overall, like it was a pretty good movie. I was thinking about when I started watching it, I was like, okay, I'm gonna probably watch like an hour of this or so, and then I'll probably stop it and go do something else. But it held my attention. I was like, okay, this is pretty good, and I wanted to see where it went. It was good. I recommend it.
Okay. Yeah. It's you lost me at Woody Harrelson, and then you brought me back with Revenge. So all right.
So, like, what's your
It's
beef with Woody Harrelson?
him as a mentor figure and blah 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 is always terrible in my opinion when it comes to like I like him as an actor. Was it Zombieland stuff like that? Funny as hell.
Oh yeah,
He has a really good catalog, but when you throw him in something stupid like Hunger Games, um, you know the alcohol, the super alcoholic that magically clears up within not even a scene. It's just like, I'm really drunk, and the very next scene, now I'm sober, and I'm gonna teach you the ways of the, to kill. And I'm like, it's super bad. I do not. He's not very good at that kind of role,
Yeah.
in my opinion. But also, it's not his fault. It's the way it's written. I'm like, he has some say in it. He's fucking Woody Harrelson.
Well, I
Uh,
mean, if you write him that way, you do kind of neuter what he's good at, which is like the white men can't jump slash double tap. What am I trying to think of? Zombieland. That like he has this biting way about him that
Dude,
is
Natural
just
Born
so
Killers.
good.
I mean, yeah,
Yeah.
he is a classic in a lot of things, and he's done, but personally, I didn't like Hunger Games in general. So when I saw him there, I'm like, oh, and he's a terrible person in that. So
Yeah.
that's why, it's like maybe he'll save. No, it won't. Just like Donald Sutherland, wasted Donald Sutherland's time. Uh,
So this movie too, I mean, the violence in this movie is really good. It is some of it's pretty CG'd out, but for the most part, it's pretty good. Um, and there's just a lot of indiscriminate killing, a lot of bloodshed. Sometimes for no reason, and all that's really cool. But speaking of indiscriminate bloodshed, I believe that you've been playing and getting pretty far in a little video game called The Ascent.
yeah, actually, I did end up beating it.
Oh
I'm
wow.
pretty sure I did. I'm trying to think now. I'm pretty sure I did all the side quests too. Um,
Oh wow.
so,
You really went far.
yes and no. So what it is I don't have a lot of time to play games, and I guess overall I'll say I liked the Ascent. That is my general thing. Is I liked it. Uh, it I really had high hopes for it, I guess, because the theme, it being cyberpunk, the sound design was really good. I love the way the gown. I play with headphones on, but I really like the way the gunfire sounded. It was just very chunky and it had a good heft to it.
It did.
Uh,
I played a little
the
bit of it. Yeah.
problem, the game is super buggy though.
Oh,
There's
still.
just yeah. So I dropped my settings down. I'm playing on a 3080, and it would still like certain transition scenes, it would chug just for a bit. So I went from ultra to high, even though my system is supposed to be able to handle ultra no problem. And it smoothed that out a bit, and it got to the point where I kind of just got used to some of the chunkiness of it. There was uh, they have just a lot of small quality of life issues in that game. You'll get these side quests early on, and half the side quests you physically can't do. Like, here, we'll give you the side quest, and it says what level these side quests are. So you're like, oh, that one's 17, and I'm only level 5. I can't do that because I'll just get murdered. So I'm gonna go ahead and try this level 2 mission. Okay, and then you have to go by these waves of bad guys, and you can skirt around them if you know what you're doing, or you just die and then you try again, and eventually you're like, okay, cool, I got to the elevator. Now I gotta wait. I can't get in the elevator. What the fuck? Why can't I get in the elevator? Is it busted? Is it glitched?
I
Okay, let me
remember
do this other
that.
quest.
Yeah.
And then you go to this other quest, and you're like, okay, and it shows that I'm here. It shows that I'm here. Like, oh, I already looted this spot before I got the quest. There's an empty chest. Was I supposed to get to that thing in the chest? So fast forward like 10 hours or something. I don't know. Fast forward at least 10 levels. Then turns out you then, through playing just the story mission, will unlock the ability to go up the elevator and go
Yeah.
up. So by that time, you're level 15 for this level 2 mission. And then eventually even further in, you go back down and you unlock the area where, like, oh, it wasn't the chest, but it was actually the space above the chest. There was a
Hmm.
whole new floor that you didn't have access to, that you now have access to, and they do a very bad job about showing you where your missions are, like what on the scale of verticality, because this game has a lot of layers. It's terrible at that. Just it's pretty fucking atrocious at letting you know what you can and can't do. Because all the missions that you accept, like, oh, surely I can do this, and turns out no, you have to wait till you progress through the story far enough. So that part was really disappointing. I wasted so much time trying to access things that I didn't have to try to access, or you
Yeah.
know, so I really wish there was some sort of marker, some sort of other communication, and the map was done and better.
Yeah, I mean that seems like a game. I mean, like I can never speak to like how a studio's doing. I'm sure they had to release it when they had to release it, but it seems like a game that they could have cooked for another, 3 months or so and still kicked it out before Christmas. Maybe would have gotten eaten up by the other games, but like it got good reviews. It got good scores as it is, and it already released on Game Pass. Maybe Game Pass
I
was.
think Game Pass is probably what helped fund a lot of it.
So they were like, you need to have it done now.
And I don't honestly, I'm not sure about the size of the team. I'm pretty sure it's not that big of a
It's
team. They're
like 12
using
dudes.
what?
It's like 12 people.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you know what? This is one of those things that this is a great first run for them.
Yeah.
And now I'm excited to see what they'll do because not only, like I said, that there's a lot of issues with the UI. There was some clunkiness with, the overall setup.
Yeah.
I'm just going to list a couple of the bad things before I move on to the things I liked about it. But yeah, it's just
Well, just real
the
quick,
move. Yeah.
I did read, just while we're talking about the people, I did read a little bit about them, and it's 12 people, and they were veterans. They're all veterans in like video games, so they've come from somewhere else, which I guess if you're going to make a game like this, you're going to, maybe that's not saying much, but I think you're right. Now that they have this belt or this game under their belt, they will probably make a really good The Ascent 2 or maybe something else along the same vein, but their next game probably will be a lot better.
Yeah. It's one of the things that this game felt too slow. It
Did
was
kind of,
because
didn't
there's
it?
a lot of wide spaces, and you can't really move that fast. You can eventually you'll unlock ability to use these subway car fast travel points, and then also
Yeah.
you'll be able to use currency to do a taxi to travel to main points, and that's fine. But when you're walking from point A to point B, you can only run so fast, and it's pretty slow. You have a combat roll, which is I feel slightly faster, and then eventually I had a slot for a modded slot, which gave me a little zip dash, like so you can kind of teleport, and that was a little
Okay.
faster. I never took it off because I use that all the time. I tapped it with my space bar because that was my dodge roll. I don't know if that was how it originally was, but that's what I did. And so I just tap and I that's all I did to travel. It was so slow. And then a lot of times towards the latter half of the game, I would do whatever mission, and then it was just like, all right, so now go to this other point, which is you have to go from where you are across the map down, then you have to go down the elevator, then across to the other map, all the way back to this other side, and then grab the thing. Now go all the way back up the elevator, back again, drop it off. And it got to the point where I ended up getting enough money in the game where whenever I got to a certain spot, I just use a taxi, but the taxi drops you off only in a one spot in the zone that you're in,
Yeah.
because each map has its own zones all connected to each other, and so it would just drop you off, but you still have to run through the zone to get to wherever you needed. So there was still a lot of running around, and it felt really slow. Um, so I guess, but the good parts, the combat was fun when you were playing around your level. They do a bad job about indicating where you are. So as far as your level goes, like you can accidentally easily wander into a just a little bit to the left. All of a sudden, next thing you know, these guys have skulls above their heads and they just nuke you in like 3 hits. It was brutal,
I ran into that.
especially early on. Yeah.
I totally ran into
Uh,
that. And I thought I could go through there, and I just like, oh, I'll just go around him, and I got stuck, and it saved, and I almost couldn't get out of there. I didn't like the auto saving, and they wouldn't give you a chance to like go back or something like that. Um, the auto saving and not telling you that they're auto saving was weird. I think that seems to be a new trend in video games that I don't understand. Like you need to have a little button saying we're auto saving now. Just something.
I I feel that they should have a fast save button, like
That's
just
true
a quick
too.
save. Just I really think that it wouldn't have hurt it. Granted, I don't know. But the combat did feel good when you're playing with characters your level or just a few levels higher than you. There was a good enough challenge. Eventually, I got. They did a bad job about explaining a lot of things too. You have a cyber deck, and you can get upgrades for it. And here I am trying to figure out how to buy things. No, it turns out there's X amount in the world. There's more than you actually need. You'll max out before you collect them all.
Yeah.
Uh, but once you find these, then they automatically apply, and they don't explain to you like, okay, your next upgrade will give you this, like it will let you hack doors, level 1 doors, and the next one up after that will let you hack level 1 chests. They don't
Yeah.
really explain any of that stuff
I
to you.
did I did
So
notice that when I would get something and it would be like, this isn't my loadout that I remember putting in there. It's already in there. I just didn't think about it too much, but I guess that's what was happening.
yeah, so the cyber deck upgrades automatically. Everything else you have to manually input yourself.
Okay.
But I did find so eventually when I got to like a level 2 chest unlock, I went back in one of the starter areas, found a chest that I wasn't able to that was locked, gated. So I went ahead and unlocked it and got a gun that fired like normal rounds, but then they kind of did a little homing. So that made it super great. I just had to fire in the general direction. So I pumped all like they don't even explain to you really well that you have special upgrade currency, special things to upgrade your weapons only. Uh and a lot of the lore and stuff like that, that's all in text dumps, just fucking
Yeah.
lots of, so I'm like, you know what? I really would like to know about this, but I'm not going to read about it.
It's too
So what
much.
I did is I found a gun. I upgraded that sucker as far as I could, and then as I kept on doing it, made the game so much nicer.
I did like the shotgun and the basically whatever the assault rifle was. I liked using those in tandem. It kept trying to switch them out sometimes randomly. It would try to switch me away from using one of them, and I could never figure out what was going on that made that happen because I was like, I just want to stick with these guns, okay? But it was cool. I'm glad I didn't buy it. I'm glad it's on Game Pass. It's a perfect Game Pass kind of game where you're
It really
in,
is.
where you're in, and you play it. You have some fun for a while, and you're out. They got to get those bugs fixed. I mean, I'm on a much weaker card than you are, so definitely wasn't. And I had pretty much the same exact problems, and I think probably at the same rate as well. You and I tried to play 2 player back when it first came out. They probably fixed this by now, but
That was atrocious.
that
We
just
could
never
not get it to
loaded.
work for the life of us. I had to re-download it, and then it gave me the option, but then we wouldn't connect it. No, that part was really disappointing because I think that game would be so much more fun when you're playing with other people.
We might still be
Um,
playing it.
yeah.
We might
So
have worked our way together through the campaign and be talking about it at least with like, hey, we had more fun with it.
So, I mean, the reason why I played the game, like, well, it sounds like I'm real like I said, the game, I like the game. It's an okay game. I wouldn't say it's one of those things that because it's on Game Pass, I'm like totally give it a shot. If you feel like bouncing off within a couple hours, that's fine. I mean, but for me, the reason why I stuck to it is because after I put my kid to bed, I don't have a whole lot of time to actually do any gaming before going to sleep myself.
Yeah.
And so it was literally an idle game, like a game that I can kind of do on the background for like half an hour at a time, and just it's simple shooting. It's like the combat was fun. There's a couple of things that were challenging enough, but it's like, well, either that or I can play on my phone or like just blindly surf the internet. So it was just a way to kind of turn off my brain, and I had a good time with that. That's why I really liked it for that. It was good enough, and I think it's like I said, I really look forward to what they're going to come out with next because the combat was fun. The story, the actual main story, was interesting enough. Final boss a little disappointing.
Uh,
Uh, but no, it was the world they set up, and plus the visuals was really cool. They actually make a direct Blade Runner reference.
well, the
Uh,
whole fucking thing it's like the closest thing to Blade Runner that a game's ever been in my mind. I
Except for
mean,
the game Blade Runner.
no, probably more than that. Like, like, I mean, just the way that city looked, I was like, gosh, this is so Blade Runner. Like the grit and the feel, which I haven't played the game Blade Runner. I don't
It's super old.
Oh yeah, it is that old one. Yeah, that's fuck that. Yeah,
It's a great adventure game, dude.
fuck
That
it.
game, that
I'm
late
just
game,
joking.
I found the bad guy at the end. He's sitting there giving me a fucking poetry like soliloquy, and I just murked him right there. I'm like, I wonder. I pull out my gun and I shot him, and my character just went boom. And he's like, I never like long speeches, anyways. And I'm like, oh shit.
Joe, everybody, that's Joe.
I was in like middle school when that game came out, man.
Still the same. Um,
Every
so
kid loves murder.
so that was the Ascent. And another game that came out around that time is one that I played. I don't know if you ever got the chance to play this. 12 minutes. Um,
No, I didn't get a chance to play this one. Lay this on me.
listed in the docket. I have it as 12 fucking minutes. So I played this game for probably 2 or 3 hours and I got stuck. And it's an adventure game. You've heard about it by now. It's a time loop game. Um, and you're, gosh, I haven't explained this, but
Here, I can do this one. So, because as someone who hasn't played it but knows about it enough, so it's literally the vantage point is you're in a tiny room, like one room apartment essentially, or one room of an apartment for
like
the most part.
3 rooms, but
And
yeah.
yeah, and so it's essentially you're stuck in a time loop where each time you're getting to explore more sides of a certain story, there's a lot of drama, and yeah, I'll let you continue it from there, but I'm trying not to be too spoilery because I've heard a few things, so
So basically, the loop that you'll get in the first 10 minutes or 12 minutes of the game is that you're a guy, come home, you're having dinner with your wife, and then a man comes in and arrests you and your wife, accuses your wife of murder, and then knocks you out. And that's when the loop starts back over again. So, like, this game. So I got to about that 3 hour point, and I'd probably been banging my head against the wall for probably an hour. Maybe it was like 4 hours in. But anyway, I'd been banging my head against the wall for an hour, and it didn't feel like I was close. I was like, I've tried everything, I've done everything, and so then the podcast started to come out about it, and I was listening to Nextlander, and I was like, and they started talking about it. I was like, I'm just gonna let them spoil it because I don't care enough. I'm just gonna let them spoil it.
all right. I'm asking you not to spoil it for me because I
I will
actually
not.
do want to.
I will not spoil
Thank
it,
you.
but they let me know um maybe some things that I had not considered. And then they kind of spoiled it. And then another podcast I was listening to super spoiled it. And uh, do you want to know not what happens, but like, do you even want to know what I think of what happens? Or do you really want to go
I
into
want
it?
you to. I want to come back next time, and then I want you to lay it on me because by that time I will have played, I guess, as much of the game as I'm going to play.
Okay.
I am going to make sure to specifically carve out some time because I've heard the simplest way is you either. I forget who said it. It might have been Giant Bomb, but it's either you played 12 minutes and you played it as far as you wanted to and loved it, or you played all of it and you really fucking hated it. That was essentially the gist of it. So, which makes it makes me really curious, is what it does.
So yeah, so I thought I had tried everything and I had not tried everything, and that's kind of long and short of that. I won't tell you what I think of the story, how I heard it turns out. Um, but it was just like I'll just let you do it because I think it's way more up your alley because you played a lot more of those hardcore adventure games growing up, and I just didn't really. So I think you're gonna probably enjoy or appreciate it more.
Yeah, I was very much into Myst, the
Yeah.
first of them all, which I think is now on Game Pass, the remastered. I have to double
Okay.
check on that. Um,
Huh.
yeah, so there's Myst. That's what I started on, and then I played games like some of those old LucasArts one, Day of the Tentacle.
Oh yeah.
That one's actually still. I replayed that one when they came out. PS3. That was a lot of fun. The Grim Fandango. I don't actually think I actually ever finished that one, so shame on me for that. Uh,
Yeah.
but a lot of those games were, I played the first Monkey Island. So yeah, those games were brutally, brutally like unforgiving. Like you didn't, and those were fucking asinine. You take the bubble gum and stick it to like the fucking quarter, and then that's the screwdriver you need for the bullshit. Like it would like logic leaps that you never make. But
Yeah.
what you do is you click on every motherfucking thing and try. Will this combine with this? No. Now let me try this. No. This. No. This. No. Oh, this one worked. Okay, great. And
Yeah.
then you use that item on everything in every scene, and you go to the next room. Does it work here? No. Next room. And then yeah, it's that those were a test of real patience. But you had nothing else better to do. When you're a dumb elementary school kid.
Yeah. So, speaking of games that are circular and have no point, I've also been playing a gotcha game, um, which I try to avoid like the plague typically, but this one is up my alley. It's a game. It's called Nier Reincarnation, and it's a game in the series of Nier Automata, and most recently Nier. What's the other one called? The remake.
Yeah, it's
Dadgummit.
the sequel of just plain Nier. It's the other story. It's
Yeah, I'm gonna kick myself. I can't think of it because I feel like it starts with an R too. But anyway, Replicant, Near Replicant is the
yes,
other
that was
one,
the Japanese version of Nier. Yeah.
which I plan to play in the near future. It went on sale. That game went on sale. Replicant went on sale last summer. I didn't make the move on it because I didn't have time for it. So I'm sure it'll be on sale again. Hopefully $40, and I'll jump on it then because I really enjoyed Nier Automata. This game, Nier Reincarnation, it's a gotcha game, um, and so that's kind of disappointing. But I haven't spent any money on it. I don't plan to ever. I'm only going to go as far as I can, I think, and then jump off of it. But like, it's got kind of battles that are contrived, and it's got story. It's got these little tiny vignette stories centering around three characters right now. And basically, you're walking around through this main world, and you come upon different obstacles, and then you go into a battle, or you go into a story mode, and then the story mode is basically like a paper cutout animated thing. So you don't see faces really, you kind of just see silhouettes, and you can see the people, like you understand who you're looking at. And it's kind of just this sort of avant-garde sort of paper cutout animation. And they're short little stories, and they tell a little bit, and they're pretty interesting. They're it's a mobile game, I should say. I guess gotcha game doesn't, I don't know if gotcha game explains that enough, but it's a mobile gotcha game. And the stories they're super short and fairly interesting. And then you go into a battle, and it auto battles for you, but you have some choices you can make. And it's all right. Like it's exactly what I want out of it, I guess, as a gotcha game. I'd prefer it to be an actual game that has like a story that you progress through, and you don't have to click on like sign in every day for bonuses. But so that's kind of really like all that is. But it's interesting because like it's an interesting thing because Nier decided to do it, and it's pretty. Like it's a pretty game. It sounds good. It's kind of weird in that Nier way, and it's just kind of fun. But the last game I'll talk about is a real game. This is a game that just came out uh,
All right,
last.
I'm sorry. Wait, I'm gonna stop right there. So, just to let you know, the if you are a fan of Nier Replicant, and Nier Automata, this cell phone game is legit canon.
Okay.
So it is a part of the same series because Yoko Taro loves to do canon shit in the most weird ass way. So there's legit near canon stuff in in the event for Final Fantasy 15, the MMO. So he's doing special content for that game, and his stuff is that stuff. There's some text in there which is also canon. So he makes
Really?
everything canon. Oh yeah, he has done
Like Drakengard,
single
I heard that like everything goes back to Drakengard, or as far as
Drakengard,
Drakengard.
Drakengard 3, one of the endings introduces helps in I think something like that helps connect to Drakengard 1, which Drakengard 1 ending like C or D is what causes the plague world to happen in a Nier, which is the disease that she has in the original Nier game, the sister character, oh, it's
Uh,
sister slash daughter character, because it's the Nier replicant, if I remember correctly, America got Nier,
yes.
which is with the dad character,
Yes.
and Nier Replicant was the Japanese version,
Yes.
which had instead of having it's the same game, you just play instead of as a dad, you're playing as the brother of the sick girl, and the other difference was in Japan, it was PlayStation got the one with the brother, and Xbox got the one with the dad because
Right.
that's kind of like the target demographic. Japanese people, and women love that game. Like the pretty boy, but also, like the Western audience didn't want a pretty boy because we know how that went with Metal Gear 2. So we want the rough man, rough gruff man. So that's why we had the dad character in.
That was very much the time, that like video game characters were like all muscled out and stuff at the
Yeah.
time, and now
Uh,
things have kind of changed around.
Oh, for sure. But that's kind of that was the target at the time. That's why when they remade it or they brought out to the to the West now the quote unquote original Japanese character. But yes, Yoko Taro loves to do so. The sister, she has this disease. That disease is more or less the fallout of the god being killed or whatever in Drakengard 1 ending like 3 or 4, because
Yeah.
they portal into our world. It's fucking mental how deep this rabbit hole goes. I watched a long video about it. There's stupid single there's one-off stage plays, little tiny things that only, and they have those are canon. Like those are sides, they talk about side characters,
Yeah.
and those are fucking canon. Like he made an art book, and the art book had a couple pages of dialogue, fucking canon. Um,
See, I
like
respect that. I really respect that. I mean,
I
that's like,
do, but I want it to be accessible. That I mean, I don't like it doesn't have to be a fucking Frog Fractions 2 and 3 like level of hunting. It should you can make all your weird shit on the sides, make all your spin-off properties. You can do your whatever, that's fine. Just make it so I don't have to fucking turn over. Just I want it accessible. So that's why I'll let other people do the legwork and come
and they
out
will,
with.
they will do it. I mean, like, I respect Yoko Taro for that. This game definitely feels like you could, like, I don't know any of these characters from Nier Automata. Maybe they're in another one of the games, but they are interesting. For a gotcha game, they're really interesting. Um, but like their story is fine to run its course, and it doesn't look like it would necessarily ever affect anything to do with the mainline games, except maybe a little bit here and there, just to hint at them. It's perfectly like there's enough room in the universe for them to sort of just run on their own parallel path. But it's interesting. I actually would like to understand then how this, like, the premise of this game, because you're a little girl walking through what they call the cage, and you're putting the story, you're like freeing the story from inside of these, like, like statues, and that's what that's what starts the battles. Uh,
And yeah, and you're playing and you have different settings with different characters. I saw a little bit of review on this back when it was still Japanese release only.
yeah,
A big Nier fan was uh, going through it and kind of playing it with limited, not like kind of forced translations.
yeah,
So it wasn't really that well like. But it
understood.
looked really neat. The art style was neat. It was kind of like one of the characters is like kind of like a cowboy setting or something like that, and it has almost a paper silhouette look to it.
Yeah,
Uh,
like the cowboy guy, he is like a mummy cowboy, is the best way I could describe it. He has like a cowboy hat and he talks real gruff and stuff like this, but he has bandages over his torso up to like his all around his face, even, and they're stylized and stuff like that. So he looks pretty cool. But and like the girl character looks like A2 or 2B, in but a little bit slightly different. She has a robotic leg and arm. And then the boy character, I haven't gotten as much of a good look at, but he looks pretty cool too. He's kind of has a weird, I call it like a dress, but it's more of a coat. And anyway, it's pretty cool. It's a definitely a lot of good stuff for a gotcha game. I keep saying, I don't know how long I'll play it.
and for the few people who don't know what a gotcha game is, gotcha is just is a the Japanese gumball, or it's like the toy gumball machines. So they call them gotcha, as in like it's a roulette chance of getting a character or getting a thing that you want. And so any cell phone game that has a random chance to get a different character, and like there's different quality of characters. So you want to get that really cool one, and there's a gamble. It's almost a gambling chance. That's kind of the gotcha. It stands for those gumball machines essentially, and it's literally to catch Pokemon, catching them all. You got so it's so that's what it is you get additional characters in this game, and you usually have an in-game currency that you can spend to unlock these characters, but also if you run out of that currency, you can then use real money to buy that game in-game currency that to try to unlock those characters. So if you were really bad luck with RNG, then this isn't for then you may not want to play
And
this.
they've got
Uh,
packages. I mean, they got packages, like $5 or $3, but they have stuff all the way up to like $80. And I was like, yeah, of course it's a gotcha game, so they're gonna have that. But I was just like, I can't imagine spending that much on this. But I guess it's just gonna keep going in perpetuity, or for a very long time. And they're just gonna have a lot of tiny little, weapons, and they have a couple. They have a couple different characters that I don't have. And I wonder if eventually the stories are going to be so few and far between that if you want any more of the game, you're just going to have to start to pay for it, which I'd rather
yeah,
just pay $20, man. Just pay $20 for a phone game and it ends. But money, I guess.
yeah.
So like, totally different from that though is a game that I really want to talk about the most, and that is Eastward. It just came out last week, I think.
This is the new Chucklefish game.
Yeah, from Chucklefish. I don't know what else they've. I know I've heard that.
Stardew.
Oh, that is. So that guy did Stardew.
Yes.
That guy started
Ape something
Chucklefish
ape.
rather. Okay.
Something ape. Ape something was is the creator of Stardew. Chucklefish is the company. So I'm not sure how exactly if these guys made or if they're just producing, if they're just funding it. So that part I'm not unfamiliar with.
Well, when
Because
the
they started producing games. They started funding other projects. So their name's getting attached to other things now.
this might be that because Chucklefish is the first name that comes up, and there's a bunch of other studio names that come up. At least like three others, I think. So I think that they're probably the publisher, sort of.
Yeah.
Um, it's a and it doesn't seem like I haven't played Stardew Valley, but I've watched a lot of it be played. It doesn't seem like a Stardew game. It's not like that. It's not in that vein. So This game.
And the answer is yes. So they published Stardew and they published Eastward. The guy who created Stardew was Concerned Ape. They also published. I'm seeing if there's anything that really that just stands out to me. They helped as far as game development. Starbound. So that old like it was a 2D. If I remember correctly, that was the 2D Minecraft. Uh, it was like you move left to right. It was a two-dimensional plane, but it
Okay.
let you do all the craft. It was an early crafting game around the same time as Minecraft. While this one is more of that. Starbound was a pixel art style characters. You had that same like stiff like swinging axe motion and stuff like that. But that one took off really big too. Just in a different scene.
Yeah. So this game is I'm about 6 hours in. The pixel art in this game is beautiful, man. Like some people, I guess people don't like pixel art. I'm sure that they're out there, but if you have any affinity for it, this game it just has really beautiful pixel art, great colors, just really well imagined, thought out, finished out environments. Um, I'm only in I only got to like the third environment just a little while ago. Um, it's a little bit slow, but I wouldn't really say it's so much slow as it is patient. Like when you start this game, um, they like the starting area. They let you. I mean, they make you explore that area until you're through with it. Um, and they like you kind of go around here and there. There's a few more doors that I kind of wanted to open, but they kind of stick to like what's important. Um, and it is like it just like it's very nice. The music is really good and sweet. The characters, there's no voice acting in it. It's all just a text dialogue, but like the characters all sound different. They are all very differentiated. Even the minor ones are like, okay, that's that guy and that's that guy, and you can tell just by the way they talk. So like, I appreciate that. The like, it's I don't know how much to describe about like what the premise is, but I guess the simplest thing to say is that you are a father of an adopted daughter, and your name is John, and you're just a blank slate. You're a silent protagonist, and you never say anything, and uh and the little girl's name escapes me right now. I can't think of it because I'm
Sam.
Sam. That's right. Yeah, it was kind of like a boy's name. Sam is your adopted daughter, um, and it's just what happens with like your adventures, and obviously you go eastward. Um, like it's good. It's just patient. Like it's definitely a game that I was about an hour into it, and I was like, gosh, not a whole lot has happened, but they like led me around and stuff like that. Something else that happens that's super interesting in the game is at the beginning of the game there's a convenience store, and outside the convenience store there is a video game. So it's an in-game video game TV, and there's like four kids and they're all talking about this game, and one of them is playing it. And so they tell you about this game here and there a little bit, and then not very long into the beginning of the game, the story forces you to play the game. And this game, they make you play it, and you're at the final boss of this game, and you go through, and I don't know, I guess you could win if you knew what you're doing right there, maybe. But like but like of course like I lost, and then and I was like, okay, that was cool. They like designed that whole thing. That's cool. Um, then later you go on a bit further, and there's a TV with a controller in front of it, and you can go up to it and you can play this game. It's called the game in the game is called Earthborn, and obviously that has some kind of connotation to or like reference to Earthbound because it sounds so close. It
Yep.
doesn't. It doesn't seem. Say what?
I said, yep, that most definitely.
Yeah, yeah.
The moment you said it, I'm like, yeah, Earthbound for
Okay,
sure.
I didn't know if you knew something, and you were saying nope.
Oh, no, I was saying, yep. The way it sounds, I haven't had a chance to play this game, so I'm eager to hear all the stuff you're saying about it.
So like this game that they let you play later in the second area. So I started playing it, and I was like, oh yeah, I'll see, what happens. Well, you start at the beginning of it this time, and it's like a Game Boy game on steroids, like an OG Game Boy game on steroids. It's in black and white, and um, I won't tell you. I'm not going to tell you what kind of game it is, really, except that it's an RPG. And you kind of like I went through it, and I just kept playing that game in the game, and it was really good. It was, I mean, it's not like, I mean, it was a very simple game, but it was a really good little game. And I played it for probably an hour and a half, playing that game in the game for about an hour and a half. And I lost again. And at the final boss. And I was like, dang, I kind of want to play it again. But I was like, no, I'll back out and I'll go back to the other game. I'll pick up with this later. And when I backed out from playing that game, like my eyes just like it was weird. Like my eyes were just like, what the fuck? Because I just been staring a black and white Game Boy screen for like an hour and a half. And then I back out to this like, you know how like Eastward looks. It's like beautiful pixel art, but it felt like real for a second because I had come out of the game and back into like normally when you do that, you come into reality and you're like, okay, it's reality. But instead I'd come back into like Eastward and that was like my new reality. But this game is good. It's easy. It's been easy so far. I did just have fight a boss where I had some trouble, but it was more kind of annoying trouble. But I got through it fast enough. And it doesn't. It's barely given me any weapons. It's given me a little bit here and there. My backpack is still pretty small. It's introduced some cooking and stuff like that, but not too much. It's kind of slow. I mean, if I was going to be harsh, I would say it's slow, but it's patient and it's perfect on the Switch. It's fucking perfect on the Switch. Playing this on like a 1080p screen, I don't know if I would like it as much, but like on the Switch where you can just pick it up, play it for a little while and just hit that power button and turn it off. It's awesome for that. And I think it was getting 8s. I think IGN gave it an 8. I think Polygon gave it something probably similar, even though they don't do numbers. But
Metacritic is currently sitting at a 77. For the well, actually, all right, correction. Make that a 79, and it's at a 8.9 user score.
I think that if you're into this kind of game, then it's definitely something worth checking out. I knew I was going to play it, so I pre-ordered it, which I don't ever recommend anybody do unless you know that you're going to play it and you like either way, no matter what. And I saw this game a while ago and I was like, I have to play this game. So I pre-ordered it and I got it for like $250 off. So I was like, hell yeah. But it was normally 25. I got it for $22.50. And I think it's easily worth that $25 price tag from what I've seen so far. But if it I also looked up how long it takes to beat, and they say between 30 and 40 hours. The reviewer said that they took 33 hours, and they felt like they explored a pretty good amount, quite a bit. Um, so if $30 for or $25 for 30 hours is your bag, then which I think it is for me, then maybe you should go ahead and get it.
Yeah, that sounds pretty good. I was very fascinated by the art style. I think having a character named Sam be your main character, I believe I didn't realize it was a girl until you said it, so I guess it's androgynous that way because long, really long, bushy, like white hair, but eyebrows. Essentially it has the face of oh shoot, is it Milky Chan or some shit like that? Or
Okay.
it was one of those it's Japanese candy because it's this like chubby girl character and there's a boy too that like they have these milk candies and they're noted for sticking out their tongue out of the side of their mouth as they smile like so
Yeah, I
that's
guess
and
she
that's
kind of does
exactly
that.
the pose on the cover that they're
Oh
showing.
yeah. Yeah,
So
that cover drawing of her doesn't really do her justice. I think in the game she's much cuter. Like she just is like more likable because it's a more simplified drawing, I think. But I love like the amount of expressions that they put on these characters' tiny ass faces is amazing. It's great.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, I'll have to give it a shot sometime.
The,
But uh,
there is a really
y-
like one more thing. There is a really badass animation at the very beginning of this game. I'm sure it's on the internet now. You could go watch it or whatever. But at the beginning of this game, before you even start to play it, the intro, screen that you can click through, before you even hit the start screen, is this animation of characters that I have not seen yet. But it's a pretty well drawn, cool looking thing of people moving around and doing stuff. And I'm eager to see what all that's about.
all right. So I guess we've been running a little long, so we got the big thing coming up for the big news. But
We
I'm gonna let
can
I
jump
think
through
we should
this.
probably power through some of it because there's a lot of fluff.
Okay.
Uh,
Yeah,
I mean,
I'm not going to talk about
we
every
don't need to
single one
go
of
into
these things.
thesis on each one, but for sure we'll touch base on all of them. I think. Uh, so
So,
doing the hard pivot.
so we can take a break here now, or we can just power through it.
I'm most definitely willing to power through it.
All right.
So
So,
yeah, it's well, I mean, we're not gonna rush it, but there's no way I'm gonna go in depth on a lot of these.
yeah, so
Uh,
I'll just go through the first two things that I have on here, just two little things I wanted to
sure.
point out. First is that Hitman is the Hitman devs, IO Interactive, are making a James Bond game. And whenever I saw that, I was like, that's fucking perfect. Fucking awesome. Because, I mean, everyone's been saying it for the longest time. Gosh, this feels
Um,
like a James Bond game.
they actually announced it. I thought they announced it 6 months to a year ago, actually.
Like, I just saw this in the news like 2 weeks ago. MGM
Um,
talks Hitman like 2 weeks ago.
because yeah, they had it announced a while back because I remember Giant Bomb talking about it for a while. Um, it was actually announced shortly before episode 3 or this final act or whatever because there's some levels in it where a lot of people were like, oh yeah, this is totally gonna this makes sense that they'll be doing James Bond because they can kind of see how that works.
Okay. Well, I mean, this is the first that I was hearing about it. But like I just thought that was so perfect because
It is.
Hitman,
You're absolutely right.
Hitman, like that first level in the first game in 2016 in Paris is a 007 intro. Like that's exactly what would happen at the beginning of 007. It's exactly what would happen. It's perfect. So I just want to mention that. The other thing is that I noticed that I've been watching really closely, and there's been a lot more restocks of PS5 and Xbox Series X this just in the past week. Best Buy even had their second in person, like on the shelves, um, like restock. GameSpot just had one or is about to have one. I think they just had one later this week. Um, excuse me.
Yeah, I would actually really be interested in getting because I currently don't have either the new ones, but because of the issues with storage and the lack thereof, I'm kind of going to patiently wait for the next iteration,
Okay.
where they'll have a larger. My hope is, anyways, at least with the PlayStation, they'll have a redesign, maybe a slim, or at least something that fits on your shelf better, and also a bigger internal hard drive. Same with, I would like to get an Xbox for sure. That's actually more interesting to me because I have Game Pass
Yeah.
Ultimate. And so that, yeah, all my friends, like, we all kind of went, pack, be like, none of us are interested right now in getting a new console, and plus we can't find it, and we're not going to pay scalper prices. But if we're going to get one, we might as well just go ahead with Game Pass, because that way we can all guarantee to play the same games at the same time, and none of us have to pitch in any more money. Like, hey, I really want to play this one. Like, dude, I really don't like. I want to spend 70, 60, $70 on a new, now it's going to be there. So that's kind of why we're leaning towards the Xbox. I'm a big PlayStation fan for their storyline games, and but yeah, both of which I want a bigger hard drive,
Yeah.
and I'll wait another year or two.
Yeah. I mean, I didn't put this in the news, but they did already say that they're working on or they're going to release. I forget exactly how it went, but that Sony is already planning the iteration. The PS5 Pro, and that's going to be out pretty much. I heard somebody on a podcast joking about it that like it's making people mad because they're already talking about an iteration on a system that they can't even buy
Yep.
yet, and it's like, read the room, guys. I mean, shut the fuck up about your iteration until some of this stuff gets worked out, until there's ones sitting on a shelf somewhere waiting to be bought. Like that would be the time. But like, and it's been extended. This launch window is the most extended it's ever been, but still, like, you have to put that stuff off. I just hope that like these restocks, every time there's a restock, it hurts the scalpers more. And I will pay a scalper price. I won't pay $700 like they're at right now, between 7 and 750. But I will, if I can get it a little bit faster, I'll probably pay like 550 or maybe even six. If the prices are plummeting, then I might wait. But I'm just really hoping that just I kind of thought they might do this. I thought that they might go, Christmas is coming up. We're gonna like they might. I don't know what they would do, but that they would put more into it to get more consoles out there because of the holiday season. And that seems to be what they're doing. They're getting those consoles out right now. And I think they will be through November
Well, they
to hit
did
that holiday
they did
season
rework the PlayStation 5.
to make it
I'm not.
easier to produce.
I,
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, they made it easier to produce. They changed the cooler design. Some people are claiming that it runs hotter. There was the big controversy over, I forget the name of the person, but they did a thermal scan of the back vents, and a lot of people just went up in arms and ridiculing this person, like dogging them for, like, that's not how you do it. You're just doing it wrong. And
Because that
but
guy
that's
said that they was about the same, right?
Yeah, so that I looked at Digital Foundry, and Digital Foundry was pretty much like, or it was Digital Foundry and also Gamers Nexus. They kind of did a collaboration, and yeah, they pretty much, like, there's not really any difference for the most part. Uh, it's within reason, essentially, is kind of what it came down to, is at least what I took away from it.
Yeah, I think that as like like only time's gonna tell, but maybe after 2 years, when the games get so advanced and they're thirsting to put out that iteration, then that fan might be freaking trying to take off with how hard it's having to work on those redesigns. Right now they're saying they're okay. I'm gonna get both the PS5 now and the iteration, so I don't really care. I'll get the crappier fan version. I don't care. It's fine. But anyway, I just I'm excited about that. But now we should probably talk about the real news. Joe, what's the real news?
All right. Well, just the other day, Nintendo had their a big direct talking about, well, they were touting to talk about a lot of games coming out before the end of the year. How many of those games actually are coming out at the end of the year is, you can, it's maybe not as many as you think. So one of the first things they start out with, they went ahead and teased Smash, saying, "Hey, guess what? Smash, we're not talking about that. Come back in October, so we'll talk to you later."
Yeah.
Um, and all right, so the one of the first games, they did a new DLC update for Monster Hunter. I can't remember the new title, Monster Hunter
Rise
something.
is the game, but
Is it just
the
Rise? Oh no, it's Rise. Yeah, Monster Hunter Rise is the one where you can ride the dog. Oh shoot, Palamute? Not Palamute. Shoot, it's supposed to be a Malamute, but it's a pun on that name because it's a
yeah,
Palico. So I
yeah.
forget what it
Probably
is.
Palamute, I imagine.
So no, it's something else, and I can't remember, but still equally clever.
Okay.
But yeah, so that it's a new area, some new combat stuff. It's a full on. It's supposed to be an actual real expansion for the most part, kind of like the Iceborne was for Monster Hunter World. Uh, so I heard a lot of good things about the Monster Hunter for Switch, Monster Hunter Rise. I've just can't get into that type of game anymore. I did World, got it hard into World, played with a bunch of friends, but we all just weren't going to get into it for the Switch. Um, there was so yeah. Other than that, there's the new some new Mario Party Superstars.
Sorry, let's just go back to because I did want to talk about
Okay.
the
Oh
Monster
yeah,
Hunter
sure.
DLC. I don't care about too much. I just highlighted it in the docket. Some of the things that in teal, some of the things that stick out to me, and Monster Hunter Rise DLC does stick out to me. I've been hovering over the buy button for the past week on Monster Hunter Rise, because it seems like the perfect game to play on my Switch. I've wanted to get into Monster Hunter. Monster Hunter World was kind of just too much. Monster Hunter Rise, they said you can beat between 20 and 30 hours as long as, I mean, obviously you can't get everything in that, but you can mainline the story or whatever and get that. So this DLC is very interesting to me. Monster Hunter Rise is also kind of cheap a lot of the time now. So I am very interested in it. But the reason I haven't gotten it already is because I just got Eastward and I was trying to cut through that and at least get to toward the end of that before I bought another game. And there's another game on this list that I'm going to probably purchase when it comes out. But we'll get to that in a minute. Anyway,
I'll
that's all.
say that Monster Hunter is a game I enjoy far more with friends.
Yeah,
Uh,
and that's kind of why I didn't play World. Why I never went back to World because you guys were already through with it. Um, but Monster Hunter Rise, I feel like, oh, I can do 20 or 30 hours, of this game on my own and probably enjoy it like well enough.
yeah, we played World on Monster Hunter World on the PlayStation, mostly because my wife and we have I have the PlayStation Pro, has the Slim, and that way we both have uh her console is my quote unquote primary, and that way I only have to buy one digital copy of the game and we both can play it.
That's cool.
Uh and that's how we do a lot of our games. And plus also I have the PlayStation Plus, so the free games I get, any multiplayer game, we both have access to, and that's a big reason why we ended up doing a lot of console gaming was it saved us from having to buy two of everything, and it's far cheaper to buy a second console than it is to build a second PC.
Yeah, that's true. That's definitely true.
All right. So yeah, the next one, like I mentioned before, was Mario Party Superstars. So for those who love the Mario Party games, they're gonna have, new areas. They're bringing back classic maps. They're doing, just I believe they're doing also just some more specific mini games and stuff like that. I haven't played Mario Party since the GameCube, so that's kind of out of my wheelhouse by now, but I'm sure I'll be playing that in the future when my son's old enough. Uh, and then there's let's see here.
So like I wanted
Uh,
to talk about voice of cards if you're going
yeah,
on.
go for it, man.
So just voice of cards, another Yoko Taro joint.
Yep.
Seems sort of. I mean, the art seems kind of similar to Nier, but also it probably knowing Yoko Taro, like we just talked about, it probably is all exactly related to the same universe and canon and stuff. I'm not usually into other card games besides Magic, but this because it's Yoko Taro and the art looks cool. It seems interesting. I might check it out a little bit more, but I don't know if I'll even actually buy it. But I thought it was interesting.
Yeah. It's it is very interesting. Card games are, if they're done well, they're awesome. So yeah, the art style did look good. The music did sound like Nier. So,
Yeah, it sounded
uh,
good. It definitely sounded like Nier.
okay, so they're doing Disco Elysium, the final cut. Apparently, it's gonna be the final cut's gonna be fully voice acted.
Yeah,
I actually never got a chance to play the game on PC, so I yeah, I've seen people play it. I've heard people talk about it. But unfortunately, I haven't really delved too deep into it. It's just on my back catalog. Like I'll get around to it someday. So that one is it's a isometric, angular, kind of like Diablo or Baldur's Gate, style gameplay where it's an RPG. You can do a lot of things with it, a lot of branching story paths and such. Um, yeah, a lot of people really like that game.
yeah, I've
Uh,
heard a lot about it. Switch would be a good place to play it, I guess. It might be kind of hard to read that text unless they've optimized it, hopefully for it. But yeah, getting that final cut where it's fully voice acted is going to be handy.
all right. They also announced the second. I thought it was the second Hyrule Warriors game. It might have been. It might just be a DLC, but it was like Age of Calamity. You know, 2 or some shit like that. I don't know. I wasn't really impressed with the Hyrule Warriors first outing. It's so if anyone who doesn't know,
It's kind of
it's
glitchy, wasn't it?
it's a Muso game, meaning that it's a Dynasty Warriors like.
Uh,
Um, so they've done this with quite a few of them. They did a Fire Emblem one. They do it with Gundam and stuff like that. So a lot of people seem to relatively like Hyrule Warriors when it came out to Switch. So it's more of that. It's all set in a prequel time period now. So it's all set before the actual Breath of the Wild, and so it's kind of the war and the battling that happened.
uh,
Um, all right, and now they're also doing Chocobo GP, so Grand Prix. It's a racing game. Uh, Chocobo, they had a racing game back on the PlayStation 1, and that wasn't a bad game actually. It was a pretty solid game. Had a lot of cool unlockable characters. So I'm kind of curious if they're gonna have some of the same stuff. They had Highwind, the flying ship. I can't
yeah,
remember if it was the wooden one or if it was the from Final Fantasy VII. I really can't
it's from
remember.
Seven.
Uh, and then they had Squall, racing around the racetrack too. He was an unlockable. Yeah, it was a stupid fun game. I remember enjoying that a lot in middle school sometime. Yeah.
Okay.
So I'm kind of actually hopeful. It's been a while since I played a good kart game. I just got kind of tired of Mario Kart. Like the one on the Switch is phenomenal. Just you can only play it so much, and if you try playing online, anyone who still plays pretty much just dominates.
Stomp you, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. All right, I'll let you go on with the next one here.
So the next one, this is gonna be the last Mr. Sakurai presents, at least for Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. Gonna happen on October 5th, which is still in the future for us. And he's gonna reveal the last fighter and show how to fight with them or whatever. This is interesting. I have Smash. I've been playing it a little bit. DLC. There's like 2 DLC packs for like $30 each. That's very expensive. I'm just like, man, that's a lot of characters, like 10 more characters, but I'm just like, daggum, $60 more. That's a lot. So this last fighter I'm eager to see who it is, and I kind of wonder if they're gonna do any. I'm sure they're going to do more Smash Brothers, but Sakurai may not be part of it. But
Sakurai's been they've talked about how much he's hated that series or how much he's suffered physically because of all the stress. But then he ends up doing another one. And so
and see,
like
like
it's
if
yeah.
he's not retiring in general, then I don't know if he's going to be able to get away from it because I mean, fighting game people don't like it sometimes, but it's I guess Melee was better than Brawl. I think I that was the scuttlebutt. Is it Brawl?
Melee wasn't Melee. Melee's the gold standard. That's the one they still play in tournaments.
Yeah, I thought they played all. I thought they played 64 in tournaments too, though too.
It's the GameCube that is the no, the cream of the crop.
Perfectly
That's why
balanced.
that's the whole reason why the Wii has GameCube controller ports on it. So if you flip open the top of the Wii, you'll
Yeah.
find four controller ports. That's it's why every iteration of the Wii U and then now the Switch, they always have GameCube fucking controllers or adapters for Smash. But yeah, it's everyone played Melee. They would bring CRTs and their GameCubes just so they can play at the tournaments.
Yeah, I knew it was
But
still
when
popular.
oh yeah, at least from what I gathered, it's considered that is the standard. I'm not sure how the community looks at Ultimate compared to Melee. That I honestly don't know.
I,
But I
I
just knew up until Ultimate, you just didn't beat Melee. Melee was the best of the best.
like
And yeah.
I think that Ultimate has a pretty good reputation. I mean, I think it's like the new hotness. I mean, and people like it still. I don't know. Um, I'm sure it's not properly balanced. I'm sure there's like three or four OP characters that everybody picks, um, if even that many, because that's a lot of dang characters in that game, and you just can't balance them all. But yeah,
All right.
anyway,
Any speculations on who the last character might be?
I would have to think about it for a long time, and I don't even know who all the characters are
It,
in it.
of
But
course, American audience wants like Waluigi or some bullshit, and I'm like, no, dude, I want it not to be him, just to spite all you asses.
yeah,
Uh,
I mean, Waluigi would be if like Waluigi would be the one everyone is asking for. I don't care about Waluigi or Wario. But like I don't know. There's I could probably think about it for a while and really figure it out who it's going to be. But then they'd probably do like I don't know some random thing I've never heard of, like they always do. But yeah, I
I
mean
want it
we'll
to be
see.
another sword person, just because I don't play the game, and there's too many sword people apparently. So
There's a lot of sword people. And yeah, I don't know who I'd want it to be. I don't know. Probably I can't even think about it right now. I have to think about it for a long time. Anyway, so yeah, that's gonna happen, and that'll be kind of sad if that's the final one. But I kind of don't think it will be.
yeah, well, I think it might. Well, I guess it depends on how worse the pandemic gets. Pandemic gets worse, then they'll add more because it'll be too difficult to
Start a new game.
Uh, yeah, exactly. It's easier to stretch this one out. All right, so next up on the docket, they talk about they're making a new Kirby and the Forgotten Land, which proves that Kirby is in the post-apocalypse, and all mankind is dead.
Yes.
It's I don't know if it's necessarily considered like a free roaming like 3D world, but it is a more open space. Uh, and yeah, it looks really cool, but it's all gone through think The Last of Us, overgrown cities of, emptiness, and except for Kirby and his creature kinds, I guess, enemies that you always see. So yeah, it looks really good. It seems to be more of, one of those action adventure platformer style games, something like Ratchet and Clank maybe, or a Knack or whatever, So probably better than Knack though.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's
Wouldn't be hard to be better than
that's about the
Knack.
gist of it. I mean, if it's a Kirby game, people love it. People always like Kirby games.
Yeah.
So Animal Crossing. Animal Crossing is let's see. Uh, they're making new shit for Animal Crossing. I
It's
don't
gonna be
care.
free.
Uh,
I think they said it's
what?
gonna be. I think they said it's gonna be free
Oh, is it? Okay.
because they
Cool,
said
I guess.
new free content talking about Animal Crossing,
uh,
and I was like, that's okay. Why don't you just put it out instead of talk about it? Because you're not gonna get any money off of. You're not like why. It's weird, but yeah.
it's to
So
get those who haven't gone in, like myself, to go in, but because my my wife really loved Animal Crossing back in the day.
yeah,
We were going to buy a new Switch just for Animal Crossing so we can both play. And then all the implementations of multiplayer online was so hot garbage that we just chose to skip it, and we are happy we did. Um, we feel like we're not missing out on anything. Uh, but for those who like Animal Crossing, it's apparently the best one of those. So. Uh,
yeah.
Mario
People love it.
Golf. All right, I'm sorry. Go on.
Nope. Just gonna say that people love Animal Crossing. I'd like to try it at some point, but there's too many other things that I have on my list right now. All right.
Yeah,
So
no, Animal Crossing was really fun back in the day. I just if I can't do good multiplayer, then I don't. And then that's why killed it for me. So all right, Mario Kart or not Mario Kart, Mario Golf. My bad. So Mario Golf, new free content for that one as well. That one actually came right the same day as the announcement of this direct, which was yesterday, or the 23rd. So let's see here now. I haven't gotten to play it. Apparently, had a story mode. I've heard middling things is about all it. Like it's not great, but it's not bad. So, I don't know. Mario Golf is Mario Golf. I want to give it a shot.
yeah.
Probably won't. uh, Disney Magical World 2. No idea of anything about this. The first time I saw it was on the direct. I'm like, okay, and I honestly don't know anything.
Don't know. Don't care.
Okay, cool. Next. All right. KOTOR. And that is in Star Wars, Knights of the Old Republic. It's coming to Switch. Looks like ass, but still amazing game.
Yep. You can play Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic on Switch now.
Yeah, it doesn't really look too polished up. It's like it kind of looks like a high in my brain anyways. I shouldn't say that. It looks like a higher fidelity of the old blocky, like characters in the original game.
Yeah.
Uh So yeah, that. But anyways, it's still one of my most favorite Star Wars properties of all time. So totally, if you have never given it a shot, I would most definitely look into that. All right, they mentioned Dying Light 2, Stay Human. That comes out. That's been pushed back to February, or I don't know if they ever announced it, but originally Dying Light was supposed to be out already.
Wow.
Uh, they had a really cool showing, cool trailer, concepts and everything like that. And I think this was even pre-pandemic, but like I think it got away from itself and it was kind of promising too much, and then they had to delay it. Uh, I'm sure the pandemic didn't help at all, but I just can't see this thing being it won't live up to what the expectations were originally set as.
Yeah.
So I should just kind of erase my memory on that and then just accept it as what it is because I really like Dying Light. Which actually the Platinum Edition is coming to the Switch. I played Dying Light on the PS4, and a bunch of my friends we had a good time with that. It's a very solid game. Makes nighttime gameplay super terrifying, and you're so happy to be rolling with friends to help bail you out. Uh, no, it was a good time. I
Yeah. I've
recommend
always
playing
heard a
it.
lot of good things about Dying Light.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it takes a little bit to get used to that first person perspective, but I mean, it was for parkour. But yeah, it was fun. I'll let you take the next ones.
Next one's Triangle Strategy. Seemed interesting. It's a strategy game, but like an RPG strategy type game. In the vein of like Final Fantasy Tactics. Um, it looks all right. Nothing too exciting, but maybe. But coming out March 4th, 2022. Um, and I probably won't actually play it, but now I want to look into it.
I'll at least have some maybe secondhand detailed information. I have a buddy of mine who uh Final Fantasy Tactics is his game of games, and he's played and beaten all the versions that have come out.
Oh wow.
Uh, yeah, he it's the comfort, like you have a comfort food game, and that's his. In fact, currently, I think shortly before this, he was replaying the, was it the Vita version? Or it might have been the PSP. I think the PSP, the War Lions edition. So yeah, he knows how to min-max that game to a sick extent, and this is right up his alley. So I will most definitely be getting a lot of information about this game.
Yeah,
So,
you probably will.
I'm not necessarily going to be playing it because I just don't have the patience for tactics. I really do like the art style. It looks freaking awesome. And yeah, it looks pretty cool. The name is terrible.
Yeah,
It's supposed to be a temporary name last time they said. So we'll see if they actually keep it or not. All
guess
right,
they're stuck with it
next
now.
one.
All right. The next one is Metroid Dread. Still slated for release on October 8th. This thing is very, very close to release. October 8th is also the day that the new Switch, the OLED Switch, comes out. And this, we'd seen a little bit about this before back in the summer, but they have an extended trailer now. At least I think it's extended compared to what I saw before. Showing more environments. Definitely makes it look more interesting. That other trailer, I was kind of like, okay, you're in a ship and this thing chases you around. I don't really know how that's worth $60, but the new environments they showed and the new enemies and stuff like that look pretty cool. Um, I'm really curious about this. I really want to play it, but I also don't want to pay for it because 60 is a lot for this to me. I've never played a Metroid all the way through, but this seems like it's going to be the new hotness, so I might pick it up. But it's definitely looks very interesting. They also said there's dread reports online, and I was kind of wondering. I haven't had a chance to look those up yet, but I was wondering if they add story info. Apparently, they've gone through 4, 5, 6, something like that. So I might look at those and see if those give any story info. But yeah, that's all. That's coming out pretty soon.
Yeah, I like the first couple. I like the 2D Metroid games, so I was a big fan of the first, both the original Nintendo and Super Metroid, are plus on the Super Nintendo, Metroid 2, Samus Returns was on the OG Game Boy, and then they had, was it Fusion and Zero Missions were on the Advance. Those were all fun games. Not a I didn't get into the Metroid Prime as much just because I didn't really like playing on GameCube for first-person shooters.
They say those are
So,
great, but yeah, I haven't played those either.
all right. What else is there?
So next is a new membership plan for Nintendo Online. This is a new collection of games for the Nintendo 64, which people could have seen coming, I suppose, but also for the Sega Genesis. So they are pulling both of those consoles games, some of those games, to Nintendo Online. For the 64, this is all coming in late October. Um, for the 64, some of the notable ones I saw were Star Fox 64, Mario Tennis, Mario Kart 64, Yoshi's Story, Zelda Ocarina of Time is a big one. That's one I'm really interested in. They have pictured here several. Those are the heavy hitters from Nintendo a lot. Um, and
Unfortunately, there are quite a few overlapping ones from, if you did get the SNES Classic. There's quite a bit of overlap there, and there's also, they've already sold a few of these games, already. Like you can get the remastered Ocarina of Time, if I remember correctly. So yeah, there's better ways to play the Ocarina of Time, but it is neat. Did they actually say how much the upgrade was to this membership?
oh no, I thought it was already included with what you
Oh,
have
okay.
with the Nintendo
Um,
because it's Nintendo Online.
yeah, I wasn't sure if it was a different tier though. So, I guess we'll have to check when the time comes. Uh,
Yeah, I mean, I hope not. I mean, I figure, I would hope not, but yeah, they then the Genesis has some pretty interesting looking games that flashed up. Golden Axe, uh, Echo the Dolphin, which I was apparently is very difficult. Sonic, I know, was on there. Streets of Rage, which funnily enough has come back. I know some Castlevania, some other stuff that looks pretty interesting. But lastly, yep.
Oh
Go
yeah,
ahead.
no, the Sega collection's far better than in my opinion, the 64 collection.
Certainly a lot
Because
more.
you have Dr. Robotnik's Mean Bean Machine. That is a staple competitor for Tetris Alternative. That has been very highly regarded by a lot of people. Uh,
Contra in
you
there
know,
too.
so yeah, well, the Contra they have is Contra Hardcore,
Oh,
which is a terrible fucking Contra, in my opinion. It is, yeah, it's just it's not really the greatest Contra, but they do have Castlevania Bloodlines,
yeah.
which is a solid one. You have now Gunstar Heroes is an amazing classic game. It's very much a Contra-esque game. That one is for sure like all time, an all time favorite. Streets of Rage 2 is the one they have,
Oh,
and
I
Streets of
see.
Rage
Yeah.
2 is a phenomenal one. It's a great soundtrack to that. They have Shinobi 3. Fortunately, I don't really remember 3 that well, so
I've heard of
uh,
Shining Force before. Isn't Shining Force supposed to be pretty good?
Shining Force is also one of those early staple. That and Fantasy Star were the two big RPG franchises
Okay.
that weren't Dragon Quest and Final Fantasy essentially.
Yeah.
So yeah, they're going with Fantasy Star 4, which I don't actually remember. I only remember up to 3 roughly, and 2, and 3 were really good.
Okay.
And Shining Force, I own the first couple of those as well. And those, I just remember playing the hell out of those as a kid. So yeah, that's like I said, it's a really solid lineup for the Genesis collection. They also have Strider, um, and you know, they have a couple other games that I'm not too familiar with. So, but yeah,
But
super solid lineup.
yeah. They also have made new, looks like Bluetooth 60 Nintendo 64 controller and a new Genesis controller as well. So those so that's a good money grab, but it's also kind of nice because 64 controller is notoriously horrible for the analog stick going out, and hopefully they redesign that a little bit, and you can actually
No, they just need to have a whole new generation know about how garbage that thing is.
no,
Let the
Joe.
children figure out how to fucking work that controller.
Because I might want to play it. And I don't want to fuck with that shit again. Um, but yeah,
Just use an adapter to play just with your regular. No, get the adapter, play with your GameCube controller.
yeah. I mean, that 64 controller back in the day is baffling. Just everything about it. Just like they must have been doing so much drugs at Nintendo. I don't know what was going on there. But yeah,
Yep.
so that's kind of the long and the short of that. There's even more stuff. Um, but uh, but we'll just see what happens whenever it comes out.
Yeah, for sure. So they also announced that they're doing a Shadowrun trilogy. So I'm trying to remember all the games in the Shadowrun trilogy. There's so Shadowrun is an RPG. Once again, an isometric. In the Baldur's Gate style or Diablo-ish. I can't remember if it's grid based or not, but it's essentially they made it's kind of a dystopian like tech punk kind of with fantasy elements to it. So you have I want to say you have like elves and stuff like that, but also at the same time it's
Yeah.
this like is grungy cyber kind of concept. And they have it's a long running series. They've made, I think this one's going to be the regular Shadowrun. I think it's going to have, is it Hong Kong and I can't remember the last one. Let me just double check real quick because, yeah, it originally when it first came out to consoles, it was actually a first-person shooter, uh, on
Oh,
the
really?
Xbox 360.
Wow.
Yeah, it did a lot of neat things.
See,
Unfortunately, it was kind of ahead of its time. So
like when I see Disco Elysium played, it looks like you know an advanced version of Shadowrun, but without I don't even know how much combat's in Disco Elysium, but it looks like a more advanced version of at least the text parts of Shadowrun to me. The isometric view, and you go around and you have decisions to make and stuff like that. Um,
Oh yeah. So yeah, the Shadowrun trilogy here looks like it's supposed to be if it's based. Let's see here. The why are you only showing me the Steam version, peoples? The Steam one shows Shadowrun Returns, Shadowrun, uh, Hong Kong, and so I'm trying to get the actual. This article did not help me out as much as I expected to.
it's
Yeah,
okay,
Shadowrun
dude. I
Returns.
mean, it's Shadowrun. Like it's been around for a
Yeah,
while. It's
it
pretty
has
cool to
been.
have it on Switch.
It's a perfect game for the Switch, I think. Actually, it's a lot of time you can spend into it. It's a decent RPG. By now, uh, you can you can get the game pretty cheap on PC if you already have it, but to have it on the go and have it on a competent system, I think this is a lot of people's first way to play it. Honestly, it's not a bad way to play it at all.
Yeah.
All right, and then they're doing a fun, stupid game, Hot Wheels Unleashed. It's kind of like that Hot Wheels DLC that they had for one of the Forza games. But yeah, they're making a whole Hot Wheels game where you got loop-to-loop tracks, and I think that game's actually going to be pretty fun. I'm actually interested in it as far as because you don't really have that sort of stupid arcadey, Cruising USA, type game anymore. Uh,
Yeah.
Everything is a sim, right? So
Yeah.
I mean, I guess Forza has the Forza Horizon, which is kind of that fun bit, and I'm pretty sure that's where the DLC for the Hot Wheels originally went to. It could have been the standard game, but I think it was the Horizon. So. Yeah, and then they have Surviving Aftermath. I don't really remember this one at all.
I don't either. Holiday 2021. It didn't strike me as being really all that big of a deal. But I just wanted to put it on there because it was happening. The next one, Shin Megami Tensei 5. I think that's coming to more than just a Switch, right? Coming to like
Yeah.
everything, right?
Well, yeah. So Shin Megami used to be PlayStation exclusive only.
Yeah,
But I believe it's supposed to be coming to PC? Question mark. Let me look that up
because
as
the
well.
other ones are on PC, at least. Shin Megami Tensei, that series is um, kind of the foil to Persona. And I mean, I haven't played that many Persona games, but I played four. So that puts me more in the Persona camp. But I am interested in it because Persona 5, I was really interested in playing that for a long time. And then I heard about it just takes like 100 hours to beat. And I was like, no, I'm not doing that. It seems like a good
Okay.
game, but that's way too long. But if Shin Megami Tensei can scratch some of that itch, which I don't really know much about it, so I might just be talking my ass. But if it can scratch some of that itch, and and like it's on the Switch, that rhymed, then I would want to pick it up. But I need to do more research into like what it's about. They
I
didn't.
can give you a lowdown on it real quick. So Shin Megami is the creator, kind of like you'd hear like Sid Meier's, right?
Okay.
So Sid Meier's Civilization, Sid Meier's Pirates. So the Shin Megami made the Shin Megami Tensei like series of games. They were always the best way to explain it is partially like messed up monster-ish world, so kind of like super emo for its time. We're talking about,
Yeah.
PS1, and so the original so Shin Megami made the Shin Megami Tensei games. The first couple of them were also, I think, in conjunction with Persona. So it was Shin Megami Tensei Persona, and there
Yeah.
was a couple Persona games for the PS1. They ended up making some like Shin Megami Tensei. They re-released three. Three was called Nocturne. Was the sub in colon Nocturne, and that one was on the PS2 if I remember correctly. You had DLC or not DLC. You had you had a character, Dante. Dante from Devil May Cry was a playable character in
Oh
that,
wow.
or I'm pretty sure it was a playable character. He was most definitely a character in that though for sure. So that intersection crossed over because a lot of it was like weird post-apocalyptic stuff. A lot of like demons and monsters from like like you're talking about like summoning circles kind of stuff. So that's what this person's really known for. So they have that kind of edgelord-ish, like
Okay.
goth kind of aesthetic. So that another series they made was Shin Megami Tensei's Digital Devil Saga 1 and 2 for the PS2. A lot of these games were RPG dungeon crawlers, so they were fucking brutally hard. Like you're doing fine, but now you got to this boss, and now you
Just
realize you got to grind for the next like up teen hours to actually build
oh,
yourself up.
okay.
So, all right. And as far as the recent relationship, most people do know Persona. Like for example, this is the kind of dark. The later Persona games have been really light in the grand scheme. Persona 1, it was like Pokemon, but like rated R, I guess. Or like
Okay.
it was more mature Pokemon essentially. And you'd go into the other world, and essentially the first game ends with the world ending, and then they rebooted, or like Persona 2, I think is what happened is Persona 1, then Persona 2. Persona 2 then rebooted itself with a different main character because then it started a parallel world where your world didn't end.
Yeah.
Uh, and then Persona 3, in order to get to this other world, you put a gun to your head and you pulled the trigger.
Oh wow.
Uh, it was like a key,
Yeah.
and that it blew out it knocked out your persona. If I remember correctly, it was yeah, it's that kind of darkness. And then you had Persona 4, which is like the Scooby Doo gang, hunting for clues, and like having a good old time, but also a lot of people getting murdered. Like hey gang, let's investigate these murders, and but I love Persona 4. And Persona 3 too.
I
It's one of
have
those
only ever
things.
played
Yeah.
Persona 4, and that game is amazing. But I'd be curious to look into this and maybe play it. I wish they'd said when it, or maybe they did, but I missed if they said when it's coming out. Um,
November. Looks like
November.
currently it's released slated for November 11.
Okay, this is 11/11. Then yeah, I will maybe pick that up. I don't know what else I have slated for November, but there's probably some other stuff coming out too.
So while the rest of the world knows it as Armistice Day,
Yeah.
in Korea and Japan, they'll forever know it as Poke Day or Pepero Day. So those because the 1 and 1 is a little fucking chocolate stick, and
Yeah.
so that's their fucking hallmark holiday for Armistice Day.
All right.
We ended a
That's
world war, and now they're just selling fucking chocolate. Okay, I just always thought that was super hilarious. While the rest of the world celebrates, the end of a fucking tragedy. Essentially, they're like, yeah, let's sell chocolate.
Japan, folks. Japan.
So yeah, but if you want a long RPG, then that's probably the way to go for you.
Yeah, I hope it's more palatable. I hope they learn some lessons from Persona 5 and it's a little more palatable because I don't want to play it something that long.
Yeah. All right. It looks like they also came out with Wreckfest. They're coming out with that in the fall. Just driving simulator, crashing cars into each other, stuff like that. Destruction derby kind of. So yeah, silly fun. There's going to be a new Pac-Man game. Well, they're doing some old classic arcade games, Pac-Man and what was the other one? I can't remember off the top of
Zevius?
my head. Look, what?
Zevius is what they
Oh,
have. Pac-Man and Zevius are releasing now. You're talking about before this?
yeah. Pac-Man and Xevious. Okay, that must. All right. Or Z. Yeah. Okay. I couldn't remember that
I never
one.
heard of Zevius.
It was like an old arcade game. That's all
Okay.
about all I really know of it because
Yeah,
uh,
I figured.
they're doing a new Rune Factory.
Yay.
Rune Factory 5. A lot of people really love it. It was Harvest Moon with the dungeon, essentially was
Uh,
what it was. So that's what made it unique and interesting. And a lot of other games followed suit because the dungeon part people really like. Stardew has it, and quite a lot of other games do it now as well. So,
Yeah.
uh, the art style looks really good. So if you're into a simulator like that, then for sure. Usually, rune factories are also a little bit more, or at least the original ones were in more of a magical setting too, so they'd have some sort of element like that.
Yeah. The next one, and I don't want to talk about it too much because it's getting pretty late now. But the new Mario movie, which probably should have moved us up to the front. It's going to be animated, which I think is the right call. Um, because
Which
we
I
know what
didn't
happened.
realize at first, and so when I saw
Yeah,
when
me
I saw who
too.
was playing Mario, I was like, "Wait, what?" 'Cause I completely missed the part where they said it was
We're
animated.
going back. Like, oh my gosh, we got John Leguizamo back as Luigi. I
Dude,
don't
he
even
would be
know.
better now than ever, man. He got better with age.
Yeah, he's definitely a lot better than he was then. I don't even know if the actor. I think the actor that played Mario passed
He
away.
he passed away quite a few years ago, if I remember
Yeah, I
correctly.
figured. Well, maybe we could reanimate him with some CG and just put him back in the movie with the
Yeah,
voice actor. Um, this one's gonna be
yeah, but
animated,
yeah.
and I think that that's the right idea. Um, we'll get to what everyone's mad about in a minute. But I kind of think that they probably heard that. See, this movie's coming out in 2022, so they probably heard about Detective Pikachu and Sonic being made, and maybe saw. I mean, I imagine they probably saw some of the early stuff, and I bet they started to work on this movie around around the time that those movies were kind of getting close to coming out, because it just fits too perfectly, and Nintendo is like, well, if they're making a Pikachu movie and a Sonic CG movie, then we have Mario. That's perfect. And of their main series, between I would say Mario and Zelda are the top two. Mario is the sad to say it is the more well known and probably the easiest to adapt into a dang kids movie. Like you say Zelda, most people know that, but you say Mario, everybody and your grandma knows Mario. So it makes sense. The cast is pretty good. Some pretty heavy hitters. Um,
Okay, it depends on how you classify good. They're very well-known people.
that is how I classify good, Joe, by fame and fortune. There are definitely people who get a lot of work. Um, some of the choices are a little bit odd to me. Toad being Keegan Michael Key, I think that's his full name.
I feel that he would be actually the better Luigi. I think he would have been
I
great.
think that you're probably right about that. Who they picked for Luigi makes no sense to me. Um, Charlie Day. I mean, I like Charlie Day, but he doesn't scream Luigi to me. Luigi is more calm, and
I
Charlie
think,
Day is a
well,
screamer.
I think Luigi freaks out, so I can understand that because he's the kind of guy, like Luigi's Mansion, and he always. But that's why I think um, uh, Keegan Michael Key would be better for that. I think Charlie Day would actually make a better Toad,
Yeah, they
just
have those
because
roles reversed. I think you're
I
100%
think
right.
that, yeah. And for those who don't know who Charlie Day is, Always Sunny in Philadelphia, the string theory or the string connecting string meme. He's the I know him from as the
Pacific
scientist
Rim.
from uh Pacific Rim.
Rim, yeah.
He's in a lot of the stuff though.
Yeah. The there are two that are I mean, like, okay, Anya Taylor Joy as Princess Peach. She seems right. Like, I like her. She seems like she would have the voice for it. I'm sure they're gonna probably make Princess Peach a little bit more assertive with Anya Taylor Joy because that actress is more assertive than I would normally consider Peach. Um, the
Well, you can't really do a damsel in distress nowadays in age because it provides the wrong image for for women in general.
I think
And
they're gonna.
I only know her from the cover, but she's the Queen's Gambit person, right?
Yeah, yeah, she's great in Queen's Gambit. She's also in X Men. First, no, the the X Men movie that came out a couple years ago about the
Apocalypse.
about no, not that far back. About the teenagers. Really good. I just watched it recently. Actually, I forgot to put that on the list. But that like gosh, what is it called? First
Phoenix?
Class or New Mutants? New Mutants.
Oh,
X-Men New Mutants. You should go check it out if you haven't watched it. It's good. It's probably the best X-Men movie that they've ever made. I mean, it's not what you expect, but as a movie, it's probably the best movie. Logan was probably better. Logan was better, but this is pretty close. Doesn't matter.
I didn't like Logan.
I
I was
like Logan, all
disappointed
right.
in that one a lot. And I don't see her credited for was it New Mut? Oh, there it is, New Mutants. Okay,
Yeah.
the New Mutants. All right.
So I would recommend at least checking that out. But
Is that an
she,
actual X-Men thing? Because I didn't even know. Like I saw it and I thought it was a I thought it was just like a spin-off or like someone's we're making a like like a rip-off kind of thing.
I
That's what I
don't
didn't realize it
know
was official
how,
property.
I don't know how they got this movie made because it's like they must have like filmed it by night and whenever the producers or the executives, the suits were asleep, because this is a movie that shouldn't, that in this day and age doesn't feel like it could be made with all of the hand wringing and things and movie by committee and focus group stuff. It's very out there as far as an X movie, but it's pretty good. I recommend
Yeah.
it. But so she's in this. She's the hot new actress, so she that's fine. I'm sure she's gonna make a lot of money. The two, I think there's one I'm forgetting, but the two that are the most baffling to me. The first is Jack Black as Bowser. No, I like Jack Black, but Bowser is a monster, and I don't see Jack Black's voice coming out of him. But maybe they're gonna do something crazy that will make me believe. The other one is Chris Pratt as Mario.
Well,
Um,
he's really well noted for his Italian accent, so
hey everybody, it's Nick here. In this next part, I make some pretty mean comments about Chris Pratt that really have no bearing on his abilities as an actor, so I decided to cut it. There's a reference to it later, so I wanted you to know what that was about. Anyway, we're all going to pretend like this never happened and never speak of it ever again. Okay? Okay. Now, back to the show.
I don't think he's a good Mario. He's oh, he's not a bad actor. I just don't care for the movies he's in. Like I didn't care about Jurassic World. It made gangbusters, so obviously I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about. So I never saw the next one that came, the latest Jurassic Park one. He was good
It's
in the Lego movies, but his character was literally non-existent. I
yeah,
don't
he's got
mind
the
him as
Lego movies
Star-Lord.
too. Yeah,
Yeah, Star-Lord he was good in. I think he plays that character well.
yeah, that fits him.
And hmm?
That fits him. Yeah.
Oh yeah. He's going to be in a movie though. I thought let's see. It's announced, but it doesn't have a date out because I'm just looking at his IMDb page. It's Cowboy Ninja Viking.
All right.
Yep, that's a thing. So it's just Assassin's Creed, I guess. So no, Chris Pratt, terrible Mario, or at least in my brain hearing Mario. And what's a kick in the face is you're going to have Charles Martinet. He is the voice of Mario. He's the voice of like most of the cast. He's going to be in this movie, but not as Mario.
Yeah, that's
That's
kind
the
of a
weirdest
slap in the
fucking part.
face.
It doesn't make any sense. Why are you going to have the main guy not do the thing?
Yeah, I just feel like there's probably somebody else that, but I mean, like, if you just, it's just a money thing. It's just like, look, who are we gonna get? That's gonna bring in the most money, and it's Chris Pratt. Like, I can't argue with that. Like he's gonna bring in the most money because he's the this
We're talking
kind
about
of
there's
actor.
Chris Hemsworth, there's Chris Pine. Uh,
There's a lot of
Chris's
Chris's, but
galore.
like I mean, there might also be like scheduling issues. But Chris Pratt is, of the people who would want to do this movie. He's the money maker.
So now my question is, since Jack Black is going to be Bowser, is there going to be I'm assuming Bowser can't be the villain. He has to be the villain turned ally because there's a greater villain, and we're going to work together to conquer that said villain because he's way too Jack Black's a comic relief guy. He's that funny sidekick character. He's not. Uh, he can't be the main bad guy.
I
I
don't
think there
know.
has to be some. I think I know this is my speculation for the movie, but like I don't know. He just has to be like, oh yeah, I'm the bad guy in the beginning, and now oh shoot, something happened, like Mario Superstar Saga, right? He joined your team on that one.
Yeah, I don't know. It just doesn't. That's just baffling to me. But who's playing Donkey Kong? I don't have it written down.
Not Green, Seth Rogen.
Seth Rogen. Yeah. Okay, that's also wrong. But that's Hollywood for you. I
Uh, yeah, the one dude's playing Cranky Kong. The fact that they're even including Cranky Kong and this is silly. Uh, Portlandia, the guy.
oh yeah.
I don't remember his name. But yeah, that dude is. I'm like, I don't think one way or the other of that. I'm just like, you have Cranky Kong here. Why? So yeah, I don't know. It's people are getting all super upset. Granted, I think it'll be fine. Just think about it like the Sonic movie. Hate it as much as you want. That way, when you watch it, you're like, it's better than I thought. Yeah.
Yeah, I think most people though, like most movie going people are just going to be like, "Oh, it's an animated movie and it's got Chris Pratt in it and it's got the people that I know in it and so I'm going to see it." That's what most people. It's just video gamers have a very specific view about like what should and shouldn't be.
Oh yeah.
All right. All
All
right.
right.
So
What's next?
next Splatoon 3, they have a single player campaign. I didn't know that. Do the other Splatoons have single player campaigns?
The I don't remember if it was the first or second one, but they did have a DLC single player campaign. So it might have been
Uh
I can't remember if it was the first one, but like I said, I did know that one of them did have that. It was different characters and stuff, but yeah, it's no, it was just like I said, it wasn't anything special, anything too long, but it was interesting. Splatoon's technically supposed to be a dark, like if you read between the lines, it's supposed to be a dark apocalypse too.
Okay. I might jump in on this one. It's not going to come out until early next year, I think, or like very early. But I have kind of had a passing interest in it, and especially if it's got a single player campaign, that sounds like fun. And then I'll play some of the co-op and or the multiplayer, whatever. But it looks good. Looks like more Splatoon though too.
Yeah, I couldn't really get into Splatoon that much, or at least the early ones. Not it's like not a big fan of motion control, and now so a lot of people swore by it. Couldn't really do it. Tried playing it normally. I'm like, yeah, all right. It's if you wanted a shooter, esque game. It was the only thing. It was the only thing in town, so therefore you kind of that or nothing. For Nintendo owners. So I mean, the art style and the aesthetic was always cool, though. I always thought it was really neat that they went with that, like pop punk for kids kind of thing. It was most definitely better than gritty, gritty realism or space adventure bad guy, stuff like that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. The last thing is going to be what they closed the show with, rightly so. Bayonetta 3. It's
Yeah,
finally not here yet, but they've finally talked about it. Releases sometime in 2022. I watched this trailer with uh, with much more paying much more close attention to detail. I didn't play the other two Bayonettas, but I plan to very soon. They're still kind of expensive though. I mean, the first one's still $30 on Switch. It's always like $5 on PC whenever it comes around to sale. The other one's like still the second one's still like 59. Um,
gotta pay that Switch tax, son.
yeah, but I'd like to play them on Switch, but I may just have to just play one of them a little bit on play the first one a little bit on the PC just to save some money, see what it's like, and then move on. Anyway, this one, honestly, watching the trailer, it looked a little bit framey. Looked kind of like it was, at it's probably at 30 FPS, I guess. I don't know, but
I
it
can
looked.
see him pushing 60. I'm not really 100% sure, but it is hard to do because that stream wasn't, or at least when I watched the stream, it was a little choppy, but that's not just for the game, but it was for other parts. So it was
See,
really hard to get an accurate reading.
I watched the
Uh,
YouTube video of it, so
okay.
it should have been clean, and the video was at 60, so it looked a little bit framey, but it also looks a little bit muddy, um, colors and stuff. But maybe on a smaller screen, it would look pretty good. I imagine. I think it's going to look really good actually. Well, when it's on a smaller screen, as long as that frame rate's all right. So they're not committing to a time in 2022. So I'm thinking if it's not March 29th, which is the last Tuesday before um before the fiscal year ends, then it's probably going to be third or fourth quarter 2022. Um and they'll probably have enough time to get it cleaned up more, hopefully, fingers crossed, cleaned up by then. Um,
Yeah,
Also,
no, a lot of people really liked the second one, and so that got a lot of fandom. This one has Harry Kaiju. That's a big part of the show. Because the whole I don't know if you know the whole concept is her outfit, her like and stuff is all made of her hair.
yeah, I gathered that from the first game, which I've seen played a little bit. I really need to go back and play those. I also have the bad guy silhouette shown at the end, and kind of show his face a little bit. At least assume it's the bad guy. I don't know if I'm supposed to know who that character is, but looked kind of cool, I guess. Um, we'll
I thought he must have been a recurring character from like the first game or something like that is
oh,
what was my
maybe.
guess, but I never I never really played Bayonetta. I wasn't at the time. I really wasn't into Platinum games that much. I think they did the first game. I know they did the second one for sure.
I think they've done them
Uh,
all. I think
Probably.
I think Nintendo
That's
just
the
was
thing
like,
is
"Hey,
Platinum
come
was
on."
always hit and miss with what they were good with, and Bayonetta was always really good. But I'm not that fond of that's was it stylish action like
Oh yeah.
Devil May Cry. Like I played the first I think two Devil May Cry games, and I beat them, but I wasn't very good at them. And so when it like I kind of stopped playing these kind of games because I never took the time to properly learn like the combo system or live combat. I might do better now because it's been for a really long time and my some of my game tastes have changed. Um, but yeah, it's just one of those things that I'm not sure 100% if I'll get in on this one. So I'll let you maybe test the waters and let me know if it's worth my time.
I'm almost certainly gonna be playing it. I think it's too big of a game to pass up. But yeah, I really hope that they get it. I think that a game kind of this big, people have been looking out for so long. I don't know well it sells, so maybe not. But I think they're gonna probably do their best to make it good, especially since it's been brewing for so long. And that is the end of the Nintendo Direct. That's pretty much everything you ever wanted to know about it. We skipped a few games up there, but I'm not going to go back and revisit them. They're not really in our wheelhouse. But yeah, so that's all that they wrote, which is pretty robust Direct. I think it had quite a bit. Nothing earth shaking, but some pretty good new stuff coming out. So the last thing is just going into the signal boost. So this last segment is just yeah, Joe and I talking about something that we've watched or seen recently that you can get your hands on for no money or low money down. And just kind of something that we think is pretty cool that's floating around. So, Joe, what do you have for
All right.
us?
Okay. Well, actually, on So on Epic Game Store on PC, they're having the Escapist, which is kind of it's like if you ever played or if you know anything about like Prison Architect or something like that, but more or less you're just literally trying, it's more of a strategy game, and it's a fun little pixel art trying to break out of prison kind of heist. It's free. A lot of people have mixed feelings about Epic as a whole, but they do offer a lot of free decent games. And if you really don't feel too comfortable, my but you still want the games, I just say make a burner email, set it up with the Epic, and there you go. I mean, uh, it's probably the easiest way because they offer a lot of great stuff on a weekly basis. They rotate it out on Thursdays, and sometimes they'll offer multiple games in a week uh, during like the winter. I believe they did a daily deal for a while. Like every day was a new thing for a while. So yeah, I've gotten a lot of good games from them just for free. So it's worth checking out if you're into those kind of games. And yeah, that's the big one, that big free game that's this time around. Uh, I actually haven't checked to see what the new PlayStation Plus is going to be. So that's the only other thing I'm on. I should double check also because I know Game Pass is always cycling through new stuff as well. So I'll try to keep better on that one next time around. But I just unfortunately have not been able to be on my PC as much lately.
Yeah, yeah, that's pretty cool, dude. Yeah, I mean, I'll probably try to look into that at least, check it out a little bit. Um, for me, just watched a YouTube video. I don't even remember who this guy is that did it. But it's a video on YouTube titled "Don't Give Up on Fighting Games." And gosh, I'm gonna have to put it in the show notes. His name, but this guy he did a video on basically his journey through fighting games. It's a really well made video. It's about an hour long, and he talks about like where he started, and kind of getting his ass kicked a lot, and kind of what he did to grow in fighting games, and like how he progressed, and he makes it very interesting, and he brings it full circle, and he also, I mean, does a really good job explaining to you, um, like what, like when he's talking about like a certain kind of move, or he's really good at saying, okay, this is the move, this is how you do it, and this is why it's important. And he does it without it being boring. Like, I don't really know how he does it, but he manages to do it without it being boring. And it's just a good video. It's well produced, and I highly recommend it. I'll try to put his name in the show notes. But yeah, so that's what I've got. All right, Joe,
Yeah.
we have made it. We have done an episode of this show. It is well past midnight, and we have gone 3 hours. Do you have anything
We'll whittle
else?
this down in post.
We'll whittle it
But yeah,
down to like we're still going to be over 3 hours, but it's it's just going to be long. Um, I think I'm going to cut out the. I might cut out the Chris Pratt rant a little bit. I'll just put an ellipsis there.
we
Um,
have a lot. We have a lot we can easily cut. But yeah, it's the fun of it. It's uh, we're gonna be trying to do this every other week. So that's our goal. Uh, and yeah, that's, I mean, right now, just getting our footing under, and hopefully, we can start doing a lot of the plugs for social media soon. We're still haven't quite ironed out all the kinks there, but uh, yeah, once we're ready to post and really go live and start making hot takes and all that stuff, yeah, it'll be a lot more fun.
yeah,
Not that this isn't fun, but also it's yeah, it is stupid late right now.
it's it's 2:40 in the morning. Good thing it's a
Yep.
weekend. Man, okay, all right.
Oh,
Well,
stupid thing. I mean, granted, I figured we are gonna cut some of this bit out too, but I just have I wanted to see because I knew it was announced a while ago. January 21, GamesRadar.com posted a thing about Project 007, everything we know about the new IO interactive
Okay.
James Bond. So yeah,
So it was
I
posted
knew
a
it
long
was
time ago.
mentioned a while ago. And though, but you're absolutely right to be stoked about it because I'm a huge James Bond fan, and it feels so natural for them to go into that property.
It's
Um,
going to be good. I mean, I can see a million ways that it could go horribly wrong, but if they just let them do it, and I don't know how MGM is, but if they just let them do it, then it could be fucking incredible.
oh, dude, it would be. Though I'm actually not so much worried about the film studio as the license holders. I can't remember
Oh,
the conglomerate that owns James Bond.
yeah.
They're
I guess that's
they're
kind of what I
real.
mean. I didn't really know, but I just well, like whoever owns it, as long as I can stay away from it, it might be all right.
Yeah, for sure. But yeah, there's so much things they can do. So we'll see. But yeah, for sure, man. Yeah, I'll let you take us out.
All right. Um, thanks for listening and or watching. We'll see you next time. Bye.
Yeah, take care, guys.